The Bills gearing up for their matchup with the Steelers coming up this Sunday with kickoff set for 4:25.
Get an updated injury report at some point as practice continues this week. The Bills did make a move at wide receiver, signing Brandin Cooks to the active roster, who was released from the Saints last week. And also, in case you missed it, Bills signed defensive end Shaq Lawson back as well. The Sabres back in action tonight in Pittsburgh against the Penguins with face-off set for 7 o'clock. You'll be able to catch all of the action right here on WGR Sports Radio 550. Around the NFL, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin said he has, quote, great optimism that Aaron Rodgers, with his wrist injury, will play against the Bills. Eagles running back Saquon Barkley with a groin injury was limited in Tuesday's walkthrough, and also Devontae Smith, wide receiver, with a shoulder and chest injury, did not participate as well. Packers running back Josh Jacobs with a knee injury was limited in Tuesday's practice, and Falcons coach Raheem Morris said that Michael Penix's knee injury could force the Falcons to, quote, make some different plans this offseason. And Joe Burrow will make his return this week against Baltimore. NFL insider Josina Anderson reports that up to 3 NFL teams are interested in pursuing North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick this offseason. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Joe Cali for WGR Sports Radio 550.
You want to be efficient, you want to be explosive, it's hard to be both. That being said, however, you need to create explosive plays.
3 years they've been telling me about boards. To hell with boards. Throw them out.
We're done with boards.
We're done with their boards.
No boards, all trains.
All aboard!
You're listening to Jeremy and Joe on the home of the Bills. WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, we got another receiver to talk about. Good morning. It is Wednesday. We are almost to Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And we've got a Bills-Steelers game coming up on Sunday. And good morning. It is kind of warm out. It's for the time, of year. And the frigid, weather that we're used to that's already... I didn't wear a jacket coming in here. And that's typically not possible. Although we are supposed to get, how much snow? How much snow are we supposed to get?
I don't know how much. I just know the winds are supposed to be like 35 to 40 miles an hour, and that's going to make it like whiteout conditions.
I saw somewhere gusts up to 70 miles per hour.
We're in it. 50 degrees today, 38 tomorrow. Yeah.
That might have been in the South Towns, which is a problem. That's also a problem if you're one to go smoke the turkey outside, I think. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
That seems suboptimal for any sort of outdoor activity.
Yeah.
70 miles an hour.
Your turkey bowls tomorrow, right? Yep. The turkey trot tomorrow. Good luck to anybody that is going to be outside with that wind. Wear a windbreaker, I guess. That's the best you could really do at this point. We'll get into a lot today. We might yell and argue about turkey again, which happened a little bit yesterday. We never really got to how you like it. Owen definitely likes turkey more than we do.
Yes.
Because he's yelling at us about, it's how we've had it cooked, which I actually agree with him. That is probably the answer.
100%.
It definitely is. And
is it smoked? Is it deep fried?
It is straight up just standard operating procedure in the oven. My mom is a great cook. She does a very good job with everything she does. So I don't know if there's some fancy thing she does to it, but she just puts it in the oven, and it's awesome because she knows what she's doing. And I got to tell you, I don't love turkey like that. I just think it catches way too much heat. I just feel a necessity to stand up in the face of all this adversity for turkey and just push against.
Turkey gets enough love. I mean, the one thing about turkey is there's not many Thanksgiving decorations around. I don't know how many people put Thanksgiving decorations up on their house.
Oh yeah.
But if you do, What do you how do you decorate for Thanksgiving?
A lot of fall stuff has turkeys involved.
Turkeys involved. Whereas, like Christmas, we're splitting it between Santa Claus and we're splitting it between, all the snowflakes, the Frozen characters, and the Grinch is involved, and you got a million different things. Rudolph is in there, reindeer.
I definitely agree that turkey gets a lot of representation. I don't know that the discourse isn't mostly negative about turkey, though.
Wow.
A lot of what I see about turkey is it sucks. And I feel like I need to.
I like a cold cut turkey. Like a turkey club.
See that I can leave.
We should go to Joe's house for Thanksgiving. He's not having a turkey. He's having turkey clubs.
Yes. Yeah.
That would be a move.
It's like with all of the Thanksgiving sides on the club.
Could you get away with that? Could you get away with? I don't know if I need that. I don't know if I need the sides on it.
You could probably get away with is a turkey club, but like a Thanksgiving-ized turkey club with stuffing and cranberry sauce on it. If you wanted to really go hard at like a Friendsgiving,
I feel like
you could serve a big sandwich.
That is
really solid.
I think that's what people do typically with their leftovers.
That's exactly correct.
Yes.
That's what I've done.
I even do it at my plate a little bit. If we get the little King's Hawaiian rolls, make a little, little combination there.
I'm wondering, though, could you get away with? I mean, everything else is the same. You got your stuffings, you got your mashed potatoes. That you show up to someone's house and maybe unannounced, where's the turkey? Here it is. It's cold cuts.
Just roll out turkey clubs.
We got rolls for you. I think you probably would someone would fight you.
Yeah, you'd get
100%.
That'd be an issue for a lot of people. I mean, it depends on your crowd, right? Like if it's us and a bunch of friends, I think you could probably get away with it.
No, but I'm talking. But if it's a family Thanksgiving, in-laws are coming.
You're in some trouble.
Yeah, it's over.
Turkey sandwiches.
It's over before it even starts.
I stopped by the deli. I got some good honey roasted turkey.
Yeah, I think
that's what we're having.
I think you're exiled from the family when that goes down.
Now, get out of preparing anything in the future.
I was going to say,
that's the ticket.
If this is how you want to tank,
true.
And never have to host Thanksgiving again. Idea: if you don't want to host Thanksgiving in the future, you want to get out of the rotation. People enjoy it. It's good. Turkey sandwiches. Yeah. And you will be right. You'll be exiled from the list.
Just talk up how good your turkey is, and then just roll out the cold cuts.
Yeah,
throw everyone off.
Man.
Number one side dish?
Ooh, stuffing?
It's hard.
Mashed potatoes?
It's hard to say anything other than stuffing, I think. But
now everyone does probably something a little different. Like my family, for instance, makes a corn pudding, which is unbelievable. And that, for me, that's a number one, not a very common side dish, I would imagine.
I could get with that. But
I've had a corn pudding, and it's good.
Yep.
It's good. I like it. What about a green bean casserole? Anyone had that? That's up there for me.
As long as the Crispies are on top or crispy.
Yes. I can't stand a green bean casserole.
Really?
I got major issues with green beans. I've got big issues
even with all the crunchies on top?
It does not matter if there are green beans involved. I am out. Out on green beans.
Okay.
I just need sugar. So put some marshmallow topping on the
what I
yams.
love?
Yes.
The yams with the marshmallow on top is legit.
You want to hear a crazy one? My parents brought sweet potatoes mashed with mozzarella cheese on the top.
Whoa.
One time to my aunt's where we all go. They went on a vacation somewhere, and this is what they ate. Like they had it there at the resort, and apparently it was good. I stayed 10 feet away from it at all times because it just looked like misleading. It looked like it was yams with marshmallows baked in the top.
Interesting.
Just mozzarella cheese.
Are you Italian?
Yeah.
Okay, is that probably what's going on here? Although I am Italian and I have never heard of this before.
They went somewhere tropical and said it was there, and then tried to bring that to Thanksgiving dinner.
I don't know if I could get down with that.
If it was not.
Real,
how did the group react to it?
There was a lot of laughing going on. What's happening here?
And this was years ago?
This was last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
Are you expecting mozzarella cheese to make a second appearance?
Absolutely not.
No.
Did not get touched nearly enough to warrant a second trip.
So if it shows up again, what are you doing? This is a problem. Yeah. Whoever is bringing it.
Yeah.
You got to have awareness.
Pablo says in the chat, by the way, that they also do a corn pudding. So maybe it is out there a little bit. Mm-hmm. Go get yourself a corn pudding recipe and show. Don't just open up a can of corn and throw it in a bowl after putting it in the microwave. Corn pudding. Look it up.
Cream corn.
That's the
stuff.
move.
Maybe that'll be my contribution this year. I haven't decided what I'm going to make for our big giant family Thanksgiving.
I got a recipe for you.
maybe I'll get down with some corn pudding.
I got a recipe for you.
All
You
right.
will. It will be the star of the show. I have had several people over the last couple of years that have demanded the recipe so that they can then bring it to their families.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
All right.
I got you.
Let's go.
Corn pudding. That's my specialty. Well, anyway, scalloped potatoes also, by the way, I'm seeing in the chat a little bit here. Thanksgiving. But speaking of Thanksgiving, I heard Chopin Bulldog talk about this yesterday, how the schedule is almost too good for tomorrow because how everybody, no matter your age, no matter your generation, you are used to that early 12:30 Lions game to be a bad football game.
Right.
Because Detroit's been terrible for 70 years. But now they're good, and they have been for like 2 years, 3 years. So suddenly, Thanksgiving football becomes, oh, wait a minute. This was the window in which you're getting things prepared, you're cooking, you're setting things up if you're hosting, and you can kind of just have it on in the background. Now it's Lions Packers, and it's a massive game for the standings, and it's two good teams and good quarterbacks involved. The game, by the way, is at 1.
Right.
That's usually been a fantasy nightmare. It's been like a 12:35 game.
Yes.
Everyone thinks it's 1, and then they don't get their lineup set in time. They finally moved it to 1. Game's almost too good.
It is. That's a legit.
That's sit on the couch and plant yourself there.
Yeah,
for that.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to be staring at that game and doing nothing else.
Yeah.
And even like you're arriving, so if you have an early dinner, if you're doing a couple like I do, and your early dinner, you're showing up while that game is going on, and while you're doing your hey hellos, like I'm distracted because Jordan Love is driving with a minute to go in the first half. Like again, It's just too good a game.
It is.
Maybe for early Thanksgiving. And then the whole slate.
Right. And then Chiefs Cowboys after that, and that's
a good game.
Yeah.
That's legit.
That'll be a good one. I'm excited.
If the Chiefs can keep up on offense, which I think they probably could.
Well, the Cowboys' defense is so bad.
Right,
They'll just be able to lay it on.
But that should be hot after what the Cowboys did last week to Philly. I mean,
yeah. And then the night game is good too because Burrow's back.
right.
And the Ravens don't really look impressive, but they're winning games. The Chiefs, very quickly, we'll get to Brandin Cooks in very short order here. By the way, today on the show, Jeremy's off. He'll be back next week. We're off tomorrow, of course, for Thanksgiving. We'll have Joe Marino at 7:30 this morning, a little bit earlier than normal, about a half hour earlier. So Joe's coming up at 7:30. We'll look back on what went wrong in the Houston game. A lot of people coming after Joe Brady, and I think rightfully so, for a pretty elementary game plan against Houston, and he got exposed in that game. Then we'll have Sal on at 8 on Cooks and the roster numbers I want to get to with Sal because he's signing to the active roster. And Gabe Davis is still on the practice squad. We are expecting, I think at some point, he'll go to the active roster, which means someone with some name power is getting cut at some point soon. We'll talk to Sal about how the numbers are shaking out there, injuries and whatnot as we head into the week for the Steelers. And then coming up at 9 o'clock, Marcus Mosher, who covers a couple different teams. One of them is Dallas. And I wanted to get him on to talk about Brandin Cooks more than, someone from New Orleans about this year. Because Cooks has been in an offense this year that just hard to see anything. The bad Saints offense all year long. Dallas the last couple of years. That's a good quarterback. He was the number 2. He was getting opportunities. He did deal with some injury. We'll get to what Cooks has looked like the last couple of years with Marcus coming up at 9. So plenty of time for your phone calls before we get to all of that. If you got a Thanksgiving take, you're welcome to throw that our way. We'll talk some Cooks as well. But very quickly on the Chiefs. They play tomorrow, 4:30 against Dallas. And they, at the moment, sit outside of a playoff spot. And I think when you look at the AFC right now, the team that obviously nobody is going to want to see come playoff time, nobody's going to want to get in, are the Chiefs. And I think there is an attitude right now, at least after beating the Colts. I think if they had lost to the Colts and they were down, then I think you were probably headed towards, they're going to miss. Their odds would have been really low. Schedule isn't super easy, but they win that game. They come back. They win in overtime. And now it's, okay, here they go. Now they're going to start rattling off wins. They're going to make it. And that's probably more likely to happen than not, that they will find a way to get in. But they have no tiebreakers over anybody. Like, they really do not have much margin for error. So I think it's very likely they get in as well. But for them to have a great chance of getting in, they've got 6 games left. Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. You can put it in ink. They will beat the Titans. They will beat the Raiders. If that game matters at the end. I'd imagine it will. So they will win 2 games at least. That gets them to 8. You got to find, honestly, it's possible 3 more wins. Because, again, no tiebreakers at the moment. And the reason they have no tiebreakers, they lost to the Jaguars head-to-head. They lost to the Chargers head-to-head. They can make up for that and get to a tie there. They lost to the Bills head-to-head. So the 3 teams in wild card spots right now, the Chiefs have all lost to head-to-head. Then we'll see Houston. Big game. That is Sunday Night Football next week. And the Chiefs will really need that one, not just because they need to find some wins here, but because if Houston gets a tiebreaker over them, that's another problem. Pittsburgh is currently over Kansas City because they have a better conference record. And that is another problem for Kansas City. It's not just these head-to-heads. If you get into a 3-way tie or a 4-way tie and you start getting into these crazy scenarios of, okay, what do we do now? Remember when the Bills got in 2017? They had the same record as the Chargers, and they lost to the Chargers in the Peterman game. They lost to the Chargers by 100. How did they get in? There were multiple teams tied, and I think the Bills had the better conference record that year, but whatever. It went down to another tiebreaker. So Kansas City at the moment, 3-4 in the AFC. Pittsburgh, 5-2. They don't play Pittsburgh. So to have a tiebreaker over the Steelers, they'd have to be, 2 games better? 3 games better even than Pittsburgh the rest of the way just against the AFC. Houston's 5-2. Now that one will get determined on the head-to-head. But if it doesn't, and that goes to tiebreakers, 5-2. Again, I don't need to go through every single team. We can go through the Jags and Chargers too if we really want to, but they have no tiebreakers. So margin for error, very slim. I think they've got to get to 11 wins. To have a great chance to ensure they get in, they probably have to get to 11. So Raiders and Titans is 2. That gets you to 8. I got to find 3 more between Cowboys, Texans, Chargers, Broncos. They might only be able to lose 1 more game. Honestly. And it might have to be an NFC game, which would be tomorrow. And honestly, if they lose that game, I think we're back to thinking they're going to miss. I'm just saying, if you are one out there, and I think this is probably most people, that is just assuming Kansas City's going to find a way in, again, I'm with you. I think that there's a very good chance of that. It is not automatic. They have to go on a run. The Bills don't have to go on a run. The Bills could really limp their way to the playoffs and just squeak in. The Bills could go in their final 6 games 4-2. 3-3 for the Bills, and they're not guaranteed to get in. They probably get in. Kansas City, they gotta go almost undefeated the rest of the way.
And doesn't this all, we talked about the Patriots adding to the frustration in, Bills Mafia, Bills Country. I think this is another thing that makes you feel a little worse, that you're in a year where the Chiefs are really in danger, and they feel vulnerable. And instead of you being the same that you've been, you're in the same spot in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think that adds to the frustration in the fan base of look at this team that we've been chasing all these years. They're finally slipping. We're watching them fall, and we're going along with them. And I think that is a really frustrating point for the fans of this fan base is we've waited all this time. We've waited for this other organization to finally flounder a little bit, and here it is, and you're floundering right beside them.
Yeah. The one thing that is weird to me, though, about the Chiefs is their floundering is they're losing close games, and I do feel like they are as dangerous as they ever have been.
Right.
And so if you were to meet them, it's not, to me, like, the reason they're vulnerable is just because they've lost games.
Exactly.
If you were to play them, I wouldn't feel any more confident about playing them because they have 5 losses.
I don't know that I would either, but you're in a spot where they are going to have to work harder than they have.
Right.
And they are going to be struggling, and they could miss here.
And it could be a year that even if they do make it, like a road game, 2 road games in a row, like that, they've had the benefit of getting through some very easy paths to make the Super Bowl in recent years. I mean, a big reason why. Not the only reason they've earned it most years. Last year they did not. Last year they lucked into it. But most years they've earned it, this easy path, getting the 1 seed. We've been begging for the Bills to do it for years. They have not, and now maybe New England is going to do it before they do. But when their path to the Super Bowl, Kansas City, has been beat a bad Texans team and then beat the Bills, and you're there. Beat Miami, and so actually 23 was the one year that was tough. Other than that, beat Jacksonville, beat Cincinnati. You're in. 2 games, one of them's against a team that's not that great. 2021, beat Cleveland with Mayfield, beat the Bills, you're in. Two games, all you got to win, one of them against a team that's not that great. The first Niners Super Bowl, beat Houston, beat Tennessee, and you're in. Just 2 games, often one of them against a team that's not that great. This time, 2 road games.
Right. Against 2
probably 2 great
really
teams.
Solid teams.
Then a 3rd game, so really 3, obviously, and then, them making it through all of that, it just is a lot tougher than anything they've almost ever had to go through. The only time they've had to play 3 on their way to the Super Bowl and done it is when they beat Miami first.
Right.
And Miami froze in the cold, and you might think that wasn't that hard for them.
Yeah, exactly. That was.
But they did beat the Bills and Ravens on the road.
Right.
Like they've done it. They've done it once. One time since Mahomes been around. It's like 7 years where they've done what they're about to have to do.
Right.
So
and that's exactly my point. It's like you're in a spot where you could have put yourself in a position where if you win the conference, even if they get to you, they're probably limping to you because they've had to go through a couple of tough teams on the road and fight instead of walking through and just breezing. All they really got to worry about is beating the Bills.
Yeah. Interesting comment in the chat. The Bills are more vulnerable than the Chiefs. That's an interesting comparison on that word specifically.
Right.
Are they more vulnerable than the Chiefs? They're not in terms of missing the playoffs, but what about losing like a road playoff game? I could listen to that.
That's an interesting debate, I think.
803-0550 is the phone number. We'll get to Brandin Cooks. Let's kick things off, though, with Frank in upstate New York. What's up, Frank?
Hey, good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Hey, I just want to say that I noticed 2 things about our team lately, and it seems like the beginning mantra, like when a comment was made to Joey Bosa about he said that they didn't get phased when they get down early. Now it definitely looks like the exact opposite, like we are phased. And the team just looks confused, and they do not look like they're having fun at all out there. It's like I just see confusion in everybody's eyes after a certain plays, and it just seems like they don't know what we're doing. And I think we have to put that on Joe Brady. But here's my Thanksgiving take. Excuse me. I do believe that there's not enough difference between Christmas and Thanksgiving. They're pretty much the same meal. All you do is look forward to sports and food and family.
Yes. Thanks, Frank. The big difference would be presents, obviously, and the presence of a tree. Although with many, the tree's already up. The meal, I hear you. It depends who you are. I mean, for me, it's not necessarily the same because a Christmas ham is a staple of my Christmas more than turkey is. I don't think there is much stuffing presents going on at Christmas for me. There is mashed potatoes.
More wide-ranging day.
Yeah.
It feels like. We have lasagna on Christmas, which I know is weird.
Yeah, I've got pasta, ham, all that stuff.
That's the thing. I think the star of the show is sometimes different for everybody.
Right.
Turkey is going to be the star of the show,
Yeah.
in finger quotes.
Yeah, star of the show. More like gratuitous slice on my plate.
It's like the king. It's like the king. It's like the king of England these days. No real power.
The figurehead.
Figurehead. Total figurehead.
Turkey is the figurehead of Thanksgiving.
It's a figurehead.
Only if you don't believe.
803-0550 is the phone number. All right, when we come back, Brandin Cooks, your calls as well on anything we just spewed out there about Bills versus Chiefs and vulnerability, or the Chiefs road as well. Thanksgiving is on the table for you, of course. But the Bills signing Brandin Cooks, which is very interesting because he has been a good player for a long time. He might not be anymore, but they signed him to the active roster, which I think means like he's going to have a role. So we'll dive in on what he offers to them at this point. He is still only 32 years old, which is incredible. For all the trades, and that's really what it is, isn't it? He's a guy that's been traded 4 times, 5 times. It makes him, seem like he's 35, 36 years old, but still only 32. Cooks, your calls. We'll get to it all. Joe Marino coming up at 7:30. Jeremy is off this morning. Happy Thanksgiving. It's Jeremy and Joe here on WGR. I think when you look at the AFC right now, the team that obviously nobody is going to want to see come playoff time, nobody's going to want to get in, are the Chiefs. And I think there is an attitude right now, at least after beating the Colts. I think if they had lost to the Colts and they were down, then I think you were probably headed towards, they're going to miss. Their odds would have been really low. Schedule isn't super easy. But they win that game. They come back. They win in overtime. And now it's, okay, here they go. Now they're going to start rattling off wins. They're going to make it. And that's probably more likely to happen than not, that they will find a way to get in. But they have no tiebreakers over anybody. Like, they really do not have much margin for error. So I think it's very likely they get in as well. But for them to have a great chance of getting in, they've got 6 games left. Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. You can put it in ink. They will beat the Titans. They will beat the Raiders. If that game matters at the end. I'd imagine it will. So they will win 2 games at least. That gets them to 8. You got to find, honestly, it's possible 3 more wins. Because, again, no tiebreakers at the moment. And the reason they have no tiebreakers, they lost to the Jaguars head-to-head. They lost to the Chargers head-to-head. They can make up for that and get to a tie there. They lost to the Bills head-to-head. So the 3 teams in wild card spots right now, the Chiefs have all lost to head-to-head. Then we'll see Houston. Big game. That is Sunday Night Football next week. And the Chiefs will really need that one, not just because they need to find some wins here, but because if Houston gets a tiebreaker over them, that's another problem. Pittsburgh is currently over Kansas City because they have a better conference record. And that is another problem for Kansas City.
Bills gearing up for their matchup with the Steelers coming up this Sunday with kickoff set for 4:25. We'll get an updated injury report at some point as practice continues this week. The Bills did make a move at wide receiver, signing Brandin Cooks to the active roster, who was released from the Saints last week. And also, in case you missed it, the Bills did sign defensive end Shaq Lawson back as well. The Sabres back in action tonight in Pittsburgh against the Penguins with face-off set for 7 o'clock. You'll be able to catch all of the action right here on WGR Sports Radio 550. Around the NFL, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin says he has, quote, great optimism that Aaron Rodgers with his wrist injury will play against the Bills. Falcons coach Raheem Morris said that Michael Penix with his knee injury could force the Falcons to, quote, make some different plans this offseason. Joe Burrow will make his return this week against Baltimore. And NFL insider Josina Anderson reports that up to 3 NFL teams are interested in pursuing North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick this offseason. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Joe Cali for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Wants to play, change the pre and post snap picture. On the fake, Prescott rolling, throwing across his body, it's Cooks. Beautiful throw. Brandin Cooks throws a man away and out across the 35, all the way up near the 40.
The Bills signed Brandin Cooks to the 53-man roster. He was released by the Saints. There was a whole weird story about how he was trying to get his release, and New Orleans was willing to grant it, but they were trying to move money in ways that would make him less appealing on waivers so that he could get to a contender, and that became a whole controversy because there was collusion talks. And I guess none of that ended up coming to fruition, the collusion stuff. And teams exploring that. So he got available, and he signed with the Bills. 803-0550 is the phone number. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. If you got a thought on Cooks, give it our way. I'll give you mine. It's that he is, I think all the jokes being made about the Bills receiver room and Brandon Beane and, still searching at this stage in the season for somebody that could actually help you. especially down the field, which, hey, that's what Cooks did for the majority of his career. That was his thing. He was a downfield vertical threat, really fast. He came into the league with a 4.33 40 time. He's always been a good player. I don't know that he still is that. And at 32 years old, there's a lot of mileage on the tires for him. And he's last in the NFL this year in yards per route run. He's run a lot of routes this year for the Saints and hasn't gotten the ball a lot. So I think there is ample reason to make fun of them for this if you want, if that's your prerogative and you want to do that. For me, it's what the hell, give it a shot. I don't see the downside of it, I guess, is why. So again, like, if it's worth mocking because this is the state of the receiver room, that's different to me than should they have done this. Yeah, you should have. No money down the line, total free agent rental, no commitment. If he doesn't give you anything, you could just bench him or cut him. So there's really no downside. And the upside, I guess, would be he's got anything left in the tank. And he's got anything left in the tank doing the things that made him such a great player for such a long time. And he's been a great player. I mean, almost 10,000 receiving yards in the NFL all time. I got some trivia for you guys. There's not many 10,000-yard receivers in NFL history. There's about 50. It's not like there's nothing, but there's about 50. So we'll get your phone calls, but I got some trivia. Brandin Cooks, right now, 9,697 career receiving yards. There are 7 active players with more receiving yards than Brandin Cooks. Who are they?
Okay. Mike Evans.
Mike Evans is absolutely correct.
Okay.
12,800.
Yeah.
He's well above.
Okay. That's one.
Julio
Mike
Jones.
Evans, who, by the way, they're talking like he actually will come back before the end of the regular season. So
really?
DeAndre Hopkins, is he ahead of him?
DeAndre Hopkins is the active leader, 13,197, which is 19th all-time, 1 yard behind Andre Reed.
Okay.
Give me Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams is correct.
Okay.
12,475.
Would Cooper Kupp have been on that list? Just taking a shot.
No on Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
Cooper Kupp is... no. 8,100. He's behind a couple of other active
There's
guys.
one that's very easy that we should get here, Joe. Do you know what it is?
No.
Diggs.
Oh, yeah. Steph.
Diggs, 11,170.
Yep.
Diggs just passed in the last couple of games Chad Johnson and Joey Galloway.
Wow.
Jefferson's too young to have gotten there.
Yeah. How many is that? How many do we have?
You have
That's 4
receivers, players with more receiving yards.
D-Hop, Evans, Adams,
than
Diggs.
Cooks. Yeah, you're missing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so 3 more.
3 missing.
Trying to think of just older wide receivers who are still maybe bouncing around from team to team, or what's going on. Are they all receivers?
Yeah, receivers only?
They are not all receivers.
Okay,
Travis
Kelce.
Travis Kelce is correct.
It's immediately where my mind goes.
12,800. If he gets 300 more yards, he'll pass Hopkins as the active leader.
Wow.
Hopkins doing nothing for Baltimore, so that might happen.
I'm just thinking guys who take shots down the field kind of a thing. Like, I know Tyreek Hill didn't play for that. Like, he's not as long, but he was deep like 90% of the time, I guess.
Lockett never got there, right?
No. Lockett, 8,800.
Closer than
Lockett is actually the next active leader behind Brandin Cooks.
Okay.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
That's where I was going.
11,300 for Tyreek Hill, and you're missing one other active players with more receiving yards than Brandin Cooks.
Old guy that gets
There's only
downfield.
7.
Maybe doesn't get downfield anymore, but who's an old guy that got downfield?
Some other guys that Cooks might pass that are not active while with the Bills. Demarius Thomas, the late great Demarius Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
T.Y. Hilton, Wes Welker. Maybe Eric Moulds he'll get to. Hey, there's Amari Cooper.
Chargers receiver.
Quentin Johnston?
No, he's too
young.
I know.
The older guy.
You should be kicked out of the room for that.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen.
Sorry,
you got
I
it.
Chargers receiver, and I just went.
11,800.
Sweet.
That's your list.
All right.
That was that?
That's that. 5 teams. He's like the only guy on this list. There's a couple guys that did it with 5
I read
teams.
earlier somewhere that he's one of 2 guys to have over 1,000 yards with 4 different teams.
Yep. I don't know why he was traded so many times early in his career. Because he was always good, and he was never a headache. I guess it was he was just not good enough to pay the big tier 1 receiver money to, but he was good, and why not just, give him that second? It was very strange. He goes from the Saints to the Rams to the Texans to the Cowboys to the Saints and now to the Bills. 803-0550 is the phone number. I think it is possible he could help them. I do not believe that he is going to come in and catch 5 passes a game and be a wide receiver 1, but I think he could be an answer. I'll put it this way. I think it's possible he could walk onto the roster and be the Bills' best deep threat. Even at this stage of his career, even at this age, I think it is very possible he walks onto the team and is their best deep threat. So that's why, for me, I'm willing to give it a shot. I think it's worth mocking, too, that they're at this point. But at this stage in the game, this is about as good as you're going to do. And it's not a former Bill. And if you're annoyed by all the former Bills, this was not one of those. Rob in Connecticut is next up. What's up, Rob?
Good morning, Joe, and also Joe, Callie, and Owen. I'd like to wish you guys a very happy Thanksgiving, and everybody at WGR 550. I was just thinking that, what am I thankful for? 3 years ago, when I lost my vision, my eyesight, and the last Buffalo Bills game that I was able to see was the 13-second game, I didn't know what I was going to do. And then my fiance turned me on to WGR 550, and I listen to you guys every day, and you are my eyes, and you know that. So I'm very thankful for you guys for getting me through, all the ups and downs of the Buffalo Bills, first off.
Thanks, Rob.
You guys really, you're like family to me, seriously. It's just not a job for me. But one of the things I wanted to say was Owen brought up a good point about comparing Kansas City Chiefs with the Buffalo Bills and where we're at. It's like we're walking on eggshells. Like one false mistake, one mistake we make, we're not gonna make it. It's like, and that's a hard part. We're predictable. The playbook is predictable. But as far as bringing back a old Buffalo Bill, a former Buffalo Bill, I want to get on this list, by the way. I told Joe yesterday, Tremaine Edmonds, don't be surprised if he comes back. I'm going to throw that out there. Brandin Cooks, I would have rather woke up this morning and heard Brandon Ayuk. When I heard Ayuk was having problems out in San Francisco, I would have rather brought him back. Is Brandin Cooks going to be just a Band-Aid? I'll give it a shot. I'm willing to see what this guy can do for us, but is it just a Band-Aid? You know, is that supposed to make us feel better? Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. But once again, thanks, guys. That's my feeling on Brandin Cooks. We'll see what happens, but is he just a Band-Aid?
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Temporary fix.
Thanks, Rob. Happy Thanksgiving. Cooks, I think is exactly what he is. He is a Band-Aid. I would say, though, that, listen, a Band-Aid is not a bad thing when you have an open wound, and that is what wide receiver has been for the entirety of the season. So, yes, I do not believe this is a long-term relationship. If he was on the team week 1 next year, it'd be stunning. But what they've needed this year is a Band-Aid. And that is why it is, I guess, so demoralizing that receiver continues to be a topic of conversation, but it's because this is where they end up. They end up needing help at all turns. And you're into week, 12, 13 here, and you're bringing in the best veteran that's available because you're the team that makes the most sense for. When I saw that he was available, I think a lot of people were connected like, oh, that makes sense for the Bills. Does he have anything left in the tank? Is he free? Can he go right on the roster? It all just made a lot of sense to sign him, bring him in, and now play him, I guess, they don't sign him to the 53-man roster if they don't plan on playing him. And what your level of expectation should be, I would say the best case scenario, like what I would sign up for right now is give me what Amari Cooper gave me last year. Can Cooks do that? In 8 games, that was 297 yards for Amari Cooper with the Bills. That was 37 yards a game. And it wasn't consistent. It was a couple of big games. He had a big game in his first game against Tennessee, where he had 66 yards and a touchdown. He had a big game against the Rams, where he had 95 yards. And then he had 56 and a touchdown against the Jets. But you've got disappearing X. You got 1 catch for 3 yards against Seattle. 3 catches for 12 yards against San Francisco. He had no targets. How about that? Amari Cooper, I mean, he was on the field. He played half the snaps. The Bills scored 48 points against Detroit, and Allen never threw it to Amari Cooper. Not once. The playoffs, there wasn't much. Like, he did not make a consistent impact. But what I got was a couple of big plays every other game, and a lot of them were down the field. The big touchdown he had against the Jets was down the field, right? The Rams plays were often down the field. I get some big plays, and I get a couple of games where he makes a real impact. If that ends up being what we get out of Tyler Lockett here, then I think that is a success. Again, given that he's free at this point. They didn't give up an asset. He was just available. So it's hard for me to see the downside. The consequence of signing him, though, and of Davis probably getting added to the team, and I want to get to how this impacts Keon Coleman, because I think it was already, I mean, Jeremy asked me on Monday, like, how does Coleman get back in? And I answered, I don't know that he's going to. He is, in terms of outside perimeter receivers, especially the big-bodied ones, he is behind Shavers, he is behind Davis. And unless you're going to go play him in Josh Palmer's role, which is the other perimeter guy that's off the line, more of a separator, speed guy, that doesn't make much sense for him. And Palmer outranks him. Well, now Cooks is also in the fold. Cooks is a perimeter guy. And he can do a little bit of slot too, but historically, he's a perimeter guy. So I got another outside perimeter receiver. And I don't know how Coleman's getting back on the field with another body. Maybe he's going to get cut. 803-0550, the phone number. How it impacts Coleman, Cooks' role on the roster. You got a thought on that? Feel free to give us a call. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to you when we return. It's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy is off this morning, and this is WGR. I think when you look at the AFC right now, the team that obviously nobody is going to want to see come playoff time, nobody's going to want to get in, are the Chiefs. And I think there is an attitude right now, at least after beating the Colts. I think if they had lost to the Colts and they were down, then I think you were probably headed towards, oh, they're going to miss. Their odds would have been really low. Schedule isn't super easy. But they win that game. They come back. They win in overtime. And now it's, okay, here they go. Now they're going to start rattling off wins. They're going to make it. And that's probably more likely to happen than not, that they will find a way to get in. But they have no tiebreakers over anybody. Like, they really do not have much margin for error. So I think it's very likely they get in as well. But for them to have a great chance of getting in, they've got 6 games left. Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. You can put it in ink. They will beat the Titans. They will beat the Raiders. If that game matters at the end. I'd imagine it will. So they will win 2 games at least. That gets them to 8. You got to find, honestly, it's possible 3 more wins. Because, again, no tiebreakers at the moment. And the reason they have no tiebreakers, they lost to the Jaguars head-to-head. They lost to the Chargers head-to-head. They can make up for that and get to a tie there. They lost to the Bills head-to-head. So the 3 teams in wild card spots right now, the Chiefs have all lost to head-to-head. Then we'll see Houston. Big game. That is Sunday Night Football next week. And the Chiefs will really need that one, not just because they need to find some wins here, but because if Houston gets a tiebreaker over them, that's another problem. Pittsburgh is currently over Kansas City because they have a better conference record. And that is another problem for Kansas City. The Bills signed Brandin Cooks to the 53-man roster. He was released by the Saints. There was a whole weird story about how he was trying to get his release, and New Orleans was willing to grant it, but they were trying to move money in ways that would make him less appealing on waivers so that he could get to a contender, and that became a whole controversy because there was collusion talks. And I guess none of that ended up coming to fruition, the collusion stuff. And teams exploring that. So he got available, and he signed with the Bills. 803-0550 is the phone number. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. If you got a thought on Cooks, give it our way. I'll give you mine. It's that he is, I think all the jokes being made about the Bills receiver room and Brandon Beane and, still searching at this stage in the season for somebody that could actually help you. Especially down the field, which, hey, that's what Cooks did for the majority of his career. That was his thing. He was a downfield, vertical threat, really fast. He came into the league with a 4.33 40 time. He's always been a good player. I don't know that he still is that. And at 32 years old, there's a lot of mileage on the tires for him. And he's last in the NFL this year in yards per route run. He's run a lot of routes this year for the Saints and hasn't gotten the ball a lot. So I think there is ample reason to make fun of them for this if you want, if that's your prerogative and you want to do that. For me, it's what the hell, give it a shot. I don't see the downside of it, I guess, is why. So again, if it's worth mocking because this is the state of the receiver room, that's different to me than should they have done this. Yeah, you should have. No money down the line, total free agent, rental, no commitment. If he doesn't give you anything, you could just bench him or cut him. So there's really no Good morning, downside. It's Jeremy and the Joe. upside, I guess, would be... Get to a phone call in a second. But there's one thing that I want to add to when we were going through Brandin Cooks' career. I omitted, because again, it's hard to... Or it's easy to miss a team when you're looking at Brandin Cooks' career stats. He did play for the Patriots. 1 year, 2017, where he had 1,000 yards for New England. They made the Super Bowl. So part of the story as to why Cooks wanted out of New Orleans at the end here, and the Bills were on the list, whatever. It was a contender. Everyone knew he wanted to go to a contender. He has not won the Super Bowl, and I'm sure that is appealing to him. Cooks does not have a Super Bowl, and he's got a pretty torturous playoff resume, which includes that year in New England where he goes to the Super Bowl. They lose to Philly. So that's the Nick Foles, the Philly special game. So he is on the Patriots. They lose to the Eagles. The Patriots then trade him during that offseason to the Rams. Then he goes to the Super Bowl with the Rams the following year, and he loses to New England. So he was on the Patriots, lost the Super Bowl, then went to the Rams, lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So he came really close twice, and he might feel like he got robbed a little bit. Again, that kind of goes to the story of I don't know why he was traded all those times. There's nothing personality-wise ever with him. He was good the whole time. There was not a lot of contract stuff usually. But whatever. Bills getting him at the end here of a pretty darn good career. 803-0550. Let's go to Justin. What's up, Justin?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I want to take a step back from the Cooks edition,
Sure.
although I do love your dime knowledge of Band-Aid's not a bad thing if you're bleeding. Great to hear at 6:44 in the morning. But I was talking with a buddy about 13 seconds yesterday, and it made me realize I had not actually watched any clips or anything of that game since it happened. So I went back and watched the fourth quarter because that's how I choose to spend my time. And I have a lot of thoughts, but I think there's two things that are important. For this year, I think the main thing is just make the playoffs. I don't care how it's done. Who you got to play, where, when, all that'll work itself out. Just make the playoffs. Josh Allen would lay down his life if he thought it would help him win a playoff game. The man's an animal, and it's proven in that game. So that's kind of my thought for the season overall. Just get in the game, and this team has its flaws, but Josh is Josh. The other thing about that game, it's not really important anymore, but that last touchdown the Bills score, don't you want to go for 2 there to go 4 instead of 3? Like, if that offense is incredible, I have no doubt that they'll make it. You then have to go 13 seconds full field touchdown. And if you don't make it, you're only up by 1, and then they have to go for the field goal. And if you play any level of competent defense that series, that's a really hard thing to do, and I think they probably win that game if they go for 2. But anyways, thanks for taking my call. Have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll listen.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Justin. I think that was discussed a bit right after 13 seconds was the decision to kick the extra point to go up 3. I think there are very few coaches that would go for 2 in that spot. And I actually don't I don't know that I have a huge problem with it. In retrospect, yes. Going up a touchdown, going up 4 to make them score a touchdown would have been better. But I understand why they didn't do it. Because then the field goal ends the game and you don't get the coin. But yes. I think in retrospect, you go for 2. Well, here's the way to ask it. If they were put in the same situation this year, would they go for 2? Because I'm skeptical. I don't think so. I think they would probably kick the extra point again. 803-0550 is the phone number. If you've got a thought on Brandin Cooks, we'll get Joe Marino in coming up at 7:30, and all the heat that Joe Brady is getting from the game plan against Houston, which everywhere I look, it feels like it might actually be deserved. 803-0550 is the phone number here on WGR. I think it is possible he could help them. I do not believe that he is going to come in and catch 5 passes a game and be a wide receiver 1. But I think he could be an answer. I'll put it this way. I think it's possible he could walk onto the roster and be the Bills' best deep threat. Even at this stage of his career, even at this age, I think it is very possible he walks onto the team and is their best deep threat. So that's why, for me, I'm willing to give it a shot. I think it's worth mocking, too, that they're at this point. But at this stage in the game, this is about as good as you're going to do. And it's not a former Bill. And if you're annoyed by all the former Bills, this was not one of those. I would say the best case scenario, like what I would sign up for right now is give me what Amari Cooper gave me last year. Can Cooks do that? In 8 games, that was 297 yards for Amari Cooper with the Bills. That was 37 yards a game. And it wasn't consistent. It was a couple of big games. He had a big game in his first game against Tennessee, where he had 66 yards and a touchdown. He had a big game against the Rams, where he had 95 yards. And then he had 56 and a touchdown against the Jets. But you've got disappearing X. You got 1 catch for 3 yards against Seattle. 3 catches for 12 yards against San Francisco. He had no targets. How about that? Amari Cooper, I mean, he was on the field. He played half the snaps. The Bills scored 48 points against Detroit, and Allen never threw it to Amari Cooper. Not once. The playoffs, there wasn't much. Like, he did not make a consistent impact. But what I got was a couple of big plays every other game, and a lot of them were down the field. The big touchdown he had against the Jets was down the field, right? The Rams plays were often down the field. I get some big plays, and I get a couple of games where he makes a real impact.
Steelers coming up this Sunday with kickoff set for 4:25. We'll get an updated injury report at some point as practice continues this week. The Bills did make a move at wide receiver, signing Brandin Cooks to the active roster, who was released from the Saints last week. And also, in case you missed it, the Bills signed defensive end Shaq Lawson back as well. The Sabres back in action tonight in Pittsburgh against the Penguins with face-off set for 7 o'clock. You'll be able to catch all the action right here on WGR Sports Radio 550. Around the NFL, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin said that he has great optimism that Aaron Rodgers with his wrist injury will play against the Bills this weekend. Eagles running back Saquon Barkley with a groin injury was limited in Tuesday's walkthrough. Also, Devontae Smith with a shoulder and chest injury did not participate either. Packers running back Josh Jacobs with a knee injury was limited in Tuesday's practice. Falcons coach Raheem Morris said that Michael Penix with a knee injury could force the Falcons to, quote, make some different plans this offseason. Joe Burrow will make his return this week against Baltimore, and NFL insider Jacina Anderson reports that up to 3 NFL teams are interested in pursuing North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick this offseason. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Joe Cali for WGR Sports Radio 550.
A lot of attention on TJ Watt through that game, and they're not just going to throw Ryan Vandermark out there to the Wolves. Now, there's going to be times where he's going to have to win one-on-one matchups against TJ Watt. You just don't want him to have to do it 30, 40 times throughout the game against Pittsburgh. And Joe Brady talked about it on Friday that he wished he would have provided more help for those tackles throughout the game. And so I'd suspect that we'll see that. Now, Houston's a different animal because you have 2 great edge rushers. And so at times it can be more difficult to provide those chips when you have those guys on both sides. Pittsburgh has other quality pass rushers, but no one that creates a duo like we faced last week against Houston with Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter on the other side.
Eric Wood on One Bills Live. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy's off today. Happy Thanksgiving. You got Thanksgiving takes that are roaming around today on the show. We got Joe Marino coming up at 7:30, and we got your phone calls as well. Bills and Steelers on Sunday. And as Eric said, they do not have Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson. But Pittsburgh's got something that's not that far off. If this was true going into the week, I'm not sure if it still is true, but Nick Herbig was the leader in the NFL in pass rush win rate or pressure rate, one of those, going into last week. And then they have TJ Watt on the other side. Alex Highsmith as well. So not as good, but maybe not that far off. Watt is not the same player that he used to be, which would be the biggest difference, I think. He is still a very good player, but the premier lead the league in sacks, pass rusher, like there is a very big difference between where Myles Garrett is these days and where TJ Watt is. He seems to be slowing down, but as I said, they got a couple other guys that are pretty good in Pittsburgh. So we'll see. What will the Bills do? One thing that Joe Marino broke down, and we'll talk to him, is the Bills consistently rolling out 5-man pressure or 5-man protection units against the Texans. They never kept in running backs. They never kept in tight ends to help block those guys. Even as the game was unfolding the way it was, no, we're just going to let our line do it. And it, in part, got them killed. How will they react against this Pittsburgh team that also has some good pass rushers? We'll get into more of that coming up in a little bit. To your phone calls, 803-0550. We did some Brandin Cooks. You want some Brandin Cooks thoughts? We can do that, and you can get in on that on the phone lines. But also, we were looking at the Bills and the Chiefs, and who's more vulnerable right now. And it depends where you look, because if it's for making the playoffs, there's no doubt that it's the Chiefs. But I think if you give both teams playoff spots, then you could argue that it is the Bills. So you got a thought on that, you're welcome to get in on that as well. Let's go to Larry in South Florida next. What's up, Larry?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. First and foremost, happy Thanksgiving to you all. Hope you guys have a great day, and you're falling asleep before the second game.
Second game, I mean, third game for sure. Second game, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, that turkey hangover usually knocks me out for a little bit. I called yesterday right at the end of the show. Unfortunately, I wanted to talk about the architecture of this team, and all signs point to Brandon Beane and why I think he has to go. So the fact that we signed Cooks, and then we also signed Elijah Moore the day after Beane's tirade, I'm sure you remember very, very clearly. I think I was the second or third caller after Beane went off on you guys, and unfortunately Jeremy took the brunt of that. And he was so far off, and you guys didn't even really do anything except talk about, why was there a lack of wide receiver attention in the draft, and all of a sudden Beane loses his mind. And you can see why he's going to be under fire, because not only were you right for asking that question, once again, Beane built a team that was heavily pointing towards our defense. The acquisitions and free agency, and then the first 5 picks in the draft. And I know you've heard me talk about this many, many times. But when you go to buy a house, you want to hope that you have a good roof. You don't have to replace it, windows, insulation, all that stuff's real important. We've had all that stuff. But the thing that's the most important is you do not want cracks in your foundation when you purchase a home. Well, we have cracks that have never been filled. And when I talk about the cracks in the foundation, I'm talking about our coordinators. Even though we went and signed Cooks, and he might be still really good, and the fact that we got Elijah Moore, we know that he's good. He's done it for the last 2 or 3 years with different teams. We have an offensive coordinator who will not use these guys to their strengths and use Josh Allen to his strengths. And that offensive coordinator was put in position by Brandon Beane. So when you have your coordinators that are just constantly promoted from within, and you don't do your due diligence and look outside the organization, these things tend to happen. Beane is responsible for what I consider all of this. And even after the 13-second game, that's probably the strongest team that he ever built. We didn't improve on that. I still put the blame on McDermott for that one. Even though I liked McDermott, I think both of these guys have reached their pinnacle. I don't think they're going to go any farther than what they've done. And if by some miracle we get in and make it to the Super Bowl, it's going to be because Josh Allen put the Superman cape back on and he got over the hump of what he's at now. But I think Brady must go. I think Beane must go. And, it's a little bit harder to justify McDermott because what he's brought us back from. But for me, it has to be Beane. It has to be Brady. And I'd love your thoughts.
Yeah. Thanks, Larry, for the call. The one correction I would want to make to all of that is I don't believe it is up to Beane who the offensive coordinator is. I think it's McDermott's staff, and he would make the call on Brady, or would have in the first place, firing Ken Dorsey and promoting Brady, hiring him as a quarterback's coach in the first place. But that's only a minor correction, I think, to your overall point, which I kind of take to be, the roster. The roster around Allen is just not that great. And I think the excuse that is often used, or one thing that you hear a lot from Beane, is, well, look, it's tougher now because of Allen's giant contract. And he does have a giant contract, but Josh Allen ranks 10th amongst quarterbacks in cap hits for this year. Dallas, with Dak Prescott, $15 million more on their cap this year to have Dak than the Bills have to pay to have Josh Allen. And honestly, are their rosters that different? Are they? Like, what would Dallas be with Josh Allen? Maybe you'd say they'd be something similar. The Rams are really, I don't really need to make another example other than the Rams. Stafford is the second highest cap hit in the NFL this year. $47.4 million. Allen is at $36.3. How's their roster? Way better. Elite players everywhere around Matthew Stafford. Puka through the draft. Byron Young through the draft. Jared Verse through the draft. Devontae Adams through free agency. And many more. They've got great players everywhere. It is not as preventative as I think it is made out to be. There are a lot of teams that have the big money deal. The Lions, I mean, they're not in the playoff spot right now. It's not like they're not going through their own troubles. But they've got more elite players around Jared Goff than the Bills have around Josh Allen. And Jared Goff is costing the Lions $3.5 million less this year on their cap than Allen is. It's basically the same. I don't know. I think that it is not impossible and that they've made questionable decisions. They have a questionable strategy, which is to constantly pay and keep players that are only pretty good. And, that to me is the foundation. Who are you paying? And if you are not hitting on draft picks, then you don't have elite players to pay, and then you try to make up for it by keeping guys that are only pretty good. I think that a lot of it does point to the GM, and that foundation is more about Bean than I think it is about McDermott or about Brady. Brady and Bean, those are the top two. When we were in a poll earlier in the week about who you find yourself blaming, they were the top two answers. And I almost wonder, Larry's one of the first callers I've heard that's kind of gone after both at the same time. Because doesn't it kind of feel like it's one or the other? That we all know there's a problem with the offense. And we all know that there's a talent disparity between the Bills and other top contending teams around their quarterback. So which is it? And I'll even be one to say, I think it's probably some of both. But who is it more of? Is it more about you just not paying attention to the skill positions, especially receiver? I mean, mostly it's about receiver, right? Or is it you got a coordinator that is getting the worst out of every receiver that comes through the door? Because there's truth to that too. So, I don't know. Does Bean think this guy should be getting more out of Elijah Moore? More out of Curtis Samuel? More out of Gabe Davis? Both when he was here the first time and now? More out of Keon Coleman? That would be the real question. Does Bean think these guys should... Because every stop before Buffalo, Elijah Moore is a 60-catch guy in Cleveland, starting receiver. Curtis Samuel is a 60-catch guy, starting receiver in Washington. MVS, both before and after the Bills, is a role-playing downfield threat. Here, nothing. And there are countless other examples. Diggs, here, super inefficient, relegated to, screen passes. He leaves, he's immediately better. I wonder if the GM thinks that this coordinator is making his receiver moves look worse than they actually are. I don't think they're great receiver moves. I think paying Josh Palmer that much was a little questionable, and Samuel that much hasn't worked out, and the Coleman draft pick has always been my biggest problem. But I wonder if he thinks it shouldn't look this bad. 803-0550 is the phone number. Dylan in Buffalo's next. What's up, Dylan?
Hey, guys. First, thanks for having me on. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. To kind of harp on this, too, how different is this Brandin Cooks trade going to make this offense look based off of what you just said of Elijah Moore coming in, Josh Palmer coming in, and not getting any use out of it? And it kind of makes me question Joe Brady's play calling ability. I feel like we saw a complete 180 from Tampa Bay to the Houston game in terms of efficacy of this offense. I watched Josh Allen go 3-3 for 6 total touchdowns, and this offense was rolling. I watched not tunnel screens being called every drive, every series even, and I saw passes to James Cook and other running backs, and we weren't always running right away every time. But then 4 days later, instead of saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, he reverts to everything that was wrong with the offense before that Tampa Bay game. Mm-hmm. And I'm just sitting here wondering, how much does this Brandin Cooks trade change that if he's going to consistently call this not aggressive, kick it to Shakir for a screen, and then maybe try to hit a play action pass every once in a while and just run the ball with James Cook every time, does adding this receiver do anything from that perspective? And even then, I also ask myself this question. Keon Coleman missed the first game against Tampa Bay. Everyone's like, he doesn't need to come back. We don't need him. Then the Houston game happens, and there is no one getting open at all. And it's just like, okay, so yes, Coleman has a separation problem. He's only getting targeted on back shoulder fades, which are not a good ball for Josh to throw. But how much of this is Coleman's inability to, be a good receiver versus how much is this the coordinator not giving him an opportunity to excel? Because this entire offense cannot excel on a consistent basis. And then just real quick, Thanksgiving hot take.
Yeah.
I love every food on Thanksgiving. I often get 2 plates at the first go-around because I love everything. My staple that has always been there in my family, which majority of my friends find disgusting, is the fact that we eat the canned, jellied cranberry sauce with no actual berries in it, and they're just like, you eat that stuff? I'm like, fresh egg. I want 2 pucks on my plate. I want 2 huge slices of that on my plate. And they look at me like it's disgusting.
I've got no problem with that at all. In fact, my family does that. Some families, thanks Dylan for the call. What do you guys, jarred cranberry sauce or homemade cranberry sauce? Sometimes I'll be at places where there's both, by the way. And the cranberry jarred sauce goes just as much as the homemade.
I'm a can.
Can.
I think it's just the one that has the ridges from the can still imprinted on the side. I feel like that's the standard, and
that's the one.
My family actually prefers that.
My grandmother makes homemade cranberry sauce, and it rocks pretty hard. So I've never known the canned cranberry sauce life.
Would she be offended if you had brought the jarred cranberry sauce?
I think
I'm guessing
I would get a fork in the eye from if not her, my mother. For if I was to bring,
all right, do not show up with the jarred cranberry sauce.
Yeah,
I got you that corn pudding.
Corn
recipe.
pudding is much more.
I got you that
acceptable
recipe
for everyone.
Show up with the can and see what happens. Report back.
Yeah, on there's a lot there on Brady, and again, it's kind of what will he do with Cooks, and what will they do that is different than the Houston game. I mean, the Tampa game, is that an anomaly? Is that what they want to be? How much is Coleman helping them if he's doing something else? I mean, how open am I to there is more there with Coleman and Brady is holding him back because they're only asking him to do certain things? That's the one that might go above Brady, though, because the night they drafted Coleman, Brandon Beane said he's an X-receiver, or that's what he's going to be in this offense. Now, maybe that's Beane's idea. Maybe that's how Joe Brady set it up for him when they were making the draft pick, is how he wanted to use him. But there's no doubt there's been a long history of people that study football, watch this position, watched him in college, that said that's not his best spot. He should play a big slot role. That was out there the second they drafted him. And we are more than a year and a half in, and they still have not really tried it. That would be the only avenue that you want. Is there more than just the back shoulder plays that Brady could use him with? That would be it. And until they show a commitment to do that or a trust in him to do that, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to believe that they're actually going to throw him out there in that position. So now I get to Cooks, and what will they do with him? What will Brady do with him? It's funny. He has not played fewer than 65% of the snaps in a single season in any year of his career. This guy plays everywhere. When he was in Dallas, he wasn't the number one, but he played 74% of snaps. This year in New Orleans, he's done nothing for the Saints. 65% of snaps. Every year before that, it was higher. He plays a lot. And I think this is maybe a McDermott thing too, because McDermott's talked about getting explosive plays in the past, and he's talked about downfield at points during this year. I wonder if it's as much about McDermott. It's thinking, we need somebody in this offense that can make safeties back up a little bit. Part of what helped them against Tampa was Tampa came out blitzing early. And then whether it was the Hardman pass down the field or Gabe with a couple big plays or the Shavers play down the field, the ones they almost hit to Curtis Samuel and Shakir, the Bills made Tampa respect them down the field. And that is, I think, what you're searching for in Cooks. He doesn't have to catch 5 passes a game, but make defenses respect you past 15, 20 yards. And in games where you don't play Houston, you'd hope you have time for those plays to actually develop. I think Houston was a little bit more of an island game for this. Their strategy should be get defenses to respect you deep. And I think they're hoping Cooks can give them a little bit of that. Joe Marino, when we return, if you're on hold, we'll get through your calls as well. The Bills signed Brandin Cooks. We're breaking it down. We got the Steeler game on Sunday. We got Thanksgiving before that, so a lot to get to. Jeremy's off this morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Joe Marino on the way back here on WGR. The Bills signed Brandin Cooks to the 53-man roster. He was released by the Saints. There was a whole weird story about how he was trying to get his release, and New Orleans was willing to grant it, but they were trying to move money in ways that would make him less appealing on waivers so that he could get to a contender, and that became a whole controversy because there was collusion talks. And I guess none of that ended up coming to fruition, the collusion stuff, and teams exploring that. So he got available, and he signed with the Bills. 803-0550 is the phone number. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. If you got a thought on Cooks, give it our way. I'll give you mine. It's that he is, I think all the jokes being made about the Bills receiver room and Brandon Beane and, still searching at this stage in the season for somebody that could actually help you, especially down the field, which, hey, that's what Cooks did for the majority of his career. That was his thing. He was a downfield vertical threat, really fast. He came into the league with a 4.33 40 time. He's always been a good player. I don't know that he still is that. And at 32 years old, there's a lot of mileage on the tires for him. And he's last in the NFL this year in yards per route run. He's run a lot of routes this year for the Saints and hasn't gotten the ball a lot. So I think there is ample reason to make fun of them for this if you want, if that's your prerogative and you want to do that. For me, it's what the hell, give it a shot. I don't see the downside of it, I guess, is why. So again, if it's worth mocking because this is the state of the receiver room, that's different to me than should they have done this. Yeah, you should have. No money down the line, total free agent rental, no commitment. If he doesn't give you anything, you could just bench him or cut him. So there's really no downside. And the upside, I guess, would be he's got anything left in the tank. And he's got anything left in the tank doing the things that made him such a great player. I think it is possible he could help them. I do not believe that he is going to come in and catch 5 passes a game and be a wide receiver 1. But I think he could be an answer. I'll put it this way. I think it's possible he could walk onto the roster and be the Bills' best deep threat. Even at this stage of his career, even at this age, I think it is very possible he walks onto the team and is their best deep threat. So that's why, for me, I'm willing to give it a shot. I think it's worth mocking, too, that they're at this point. But at this stage in the game, this is about as good as you're going to do. And it's not a former Bill. And if you're annoyed by all the former Bills, this was not one of those.
The Bills gearing up for the Steelers coming up this Sunday with kickoff set for 4:25. We'll get an updated injury report at some point as practice continues this week. The Bills did make a move at wide receiver, signing Brandin Cooks to the active roster. It was released from the Saints last week. And also, in case you missed it, the Bills signed defensive end Shaq Lawson as well. The Sabres back in action tonight in Pittsburgh against the Penguins with face-off set for 7 o'clock. You'll be able to catch all of the game action right here on WGR Sports Radio 550. Around the NFL, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin said he has, quote, great optimism that Aaron Rodgers with his wrist injury will play against the Bills. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Joe Cali for WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, welcome back. It's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy is off this morning. Bills and Steelers on Sunday, 3 games tomorrow, and they're all pretty good. It's about as good a Thanksgiving slate as we've seen. 3 good. What's funny, though, is they all look like good games, and 2 of the 6 teams are in playoff spots right now because Kansas City's not a playoff spot. Detroit's not in a playoff spot. Dallas is not in a playoff spot. I guess Baltimore is at this point. But still 3 good games, in my opinion. Joe Marino now on the Western Hotline. We'll look back a little bit on Houston, some Brandin Cooks, some Steelers game. Joe from Locked On Bills, the Locked On Bills squad show as well, and a whole host of other things. Thanksgiving, Joe, what's your star side dish for tomorrow? What are you excited for?
Oh, I got to have – the stuffing is definitely, like the staple for me, but – if I'm going to go with like a unique Joe Marino thing, give me some stuffed artichokes, man. I really like those.
Stuffed artichokes. Is that a you thing or is that a North Carolina thing or what? Because that's not something I've ever run into.
Well, my 100% Italian father, this was kind of his thing. He'd make these artichokes. I don't really know how he made them, but he would take like literally the regular looking artichoke and breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese and
okay.
You just kind of peel off the leaves and kind of slide them across your teeth, and they're really good, man. They're kind of different, but I figured I'd throw something unique out there. Everyone's going to say, mac and cheese or stuffing, but give me those stuffed artichokes, man.
Were you in sauce with those too, or are you just eating those without it? Or eating plain? Because it sounds like it'd be good no matter what.
Yeah, they're. I think he steams them or something. He passed a few years ago, so my sister knows how to make them. That's the good news.
Gotcha.
So I got to learn from her.
All right, well, Thanksgiving tomorrow, 3 good games. Let's look back a little bit, Joe, on the Houston game before we look ahead. And I think listening to you a little bit and even the Texans head coach, D'Amico Ryans, when he did his podcast on Texans Voice this week, I feel like everywhere I'm listening, it's the Bills' game plan, especially protection-wise for Josh Allen, was questionable, if I'm being kind.
Well, yeah, I mean, the big talk coming out of that game is the Bills and their use of 5-man protections, which is just your offensive lineman. That means there's no help from running backs and tight ends. And look, that's what the Bills do. They've been doing it for a while. So it's not like they showed up in Houston and said 5-man protection. This is what they've done. They were number 1 by like 7% last year in 5-man protection usage, and I think they're right towards the top again this year. And the concern here is that it highlights some of the lack of evolvement, the lack of ability to adjust. And, anybody that was watching that game knew early on that, unfortunately, Dawkins and Brown weren't able to get it done at tackle, right? I think they went into this game and said, hey, we're good at tackle. You're good on the edge. Let's find out who can get it done, right? And I didn't think the Bills would shut down Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, right? But you'd expect it to be a little bit more of a back and forth thing as opposed to really one-sided with that Houston pass rush. And so, all right, you went in there, you thought you'd continue to use your 5-man protections, which, again, there's a good part of that. It allows you to maximize your eligible receivers. You only get 5 eligible receivers. Well, if you keep them in the block, well, then they're not on the menu for Josh Allen to throw the football to. So I'm sure they wanted to preserve that. But the fact that it was pretty obvious on both sides, not even just Spencer Brown and him kind of playing through a shoulder, and then for them to not help at all, right, not to give chippers or, even just enough help. In fact, on their non-play action passes, they were 7% higher
than their season rate of five-man protections. They've been 83% five-man going into the game. They were 90% in this game. And so it's a blatant failure to adjust, putting your quarterback in a really bad spot. And so it's a goofy game plan. And I think D'Amico Ryans had the right messaging where, he's surprised. He's very surprised that the Bills are willing to play more straight up, and certainly paid a tough consequence. Josh Allen sacked 8 times and hit 12 more.
Do you feel like that's something they could adjust, not in the game, but maybe now rest of season? I mean, depending on the matchup, McDermott talking multiple times in his press conference about, like, we can't have Allen getting hit 12 times like that. They'll play Cleveland. They'll play Philly. We'll see if they play like Denver in the playoffs. Do you feel like that it's more matchup dependent, though, that they should be open to looking different on that front?
Well, I don't really excuse them not adjusting in the game. I don't. That's not something that you can't figure out in the game. That's very basic. Oh man, we're not winning with our pass rush. You do certain things. You throw screens. You run the ball. You run some draws. Right. You get some quick game going to mitigate the pass rush. But ultimately, you can adjust. You can keep a back in there to help. You can keep a tight end in there to help. Right. That's very much a possibility for an NFL football team. So it's not like, oh no, we went in for the game with five-man protections and it's not going to work and we don't have another plan. That's very basic stuff that you just choose to do, and the Bills chose not to.
Do you have any issue with the late game sequence, whether it's the final play or I guess where the ball went on the final play? Did it seem like they were drawing that up for Dawson Knox, given who Davis was kind of trying to get in the way of?
Yeah, I take great exception with the end-of-game sequence, and I want to start with the play before. Let's not forget that the reason it was 4th and 6 is because Deion Dawkins false started to take it from 4th and 1 to a 4th and 6. And don't forget the 3rd and 1. Josh Allen wasn't able to get the ball over top of Will Anderson, who deflected the ball to a wide-open Khalil Shakir in the flats. Joe, that'd probably been a touchdown, if not a first down. So, I think we're going to focus a lot on that very last play that we saw, and I'm going to give you some thoughts on it. But I think it goes back to, not being able to get that ball to Shakir, a Dawkins false start that made it 4th and 6 instead of 4th and 1, and then you get to this final play, which is an absolutely egregious play call for a number of reasons. But first of all, they ran mesh, right? And mesh has been a big talking point this week. And the reality is the Bills run mesh. They've been running mesh for years. They run it more than any team. And mesh is simply this. You have a shallow crosser from one side of the formation. You have a shallow crosser from the other side, and they mesh, right? They meet. And you hope that one of them can kind of come out clean. You kind of get some traffic, you get some rubs, and somebody can come out clean, and then you layer stuff with it. The Bills like to layer, a rail route out of the backfield for the running back. They like to put a sit route over top of the mesh to kind of give another option if, once that clears. But here's the challenge with mesh. You can't throw the ball until the mesh clears, right? So you have a shallow from one side that has to clear a shallow from the other side. And so what does that do? It takes the ability for your quarterback to make a quick decision, it takes it away, and it stresses your protection. And you're stressing your protection that's failed you all night long. Oh, by the way, you got a backup right tackle in there. It's an egregious play call under those circumstances. And I know that, everyone can rewind and push pause and see a wide open Dawson Knox. The problem is Josh's vision is blurred by all the things that are happening, all that pocket caving in. He can't see him. He can't see him there. And the only thing he can do is he went up to Josh Palmer, and they weren't on the same page. And so it's a major failure in the highest of leverage moments where the Bills, once again, in that type of a situation, look completely unorganized and have the wrong idea.
Yeah. It almost sounds like, so basically the second to last play seems to be more on Allen than the last play would be.
I don't know. I mean, it's
close.
It's a great play by Will Anderson. I mean, as an offensive lineman there, and you see it's quick game, right? You know that ball, they're doing that orbit return motion. You know that ball's got to go there. You can't allow that space to get there between you and the defensive end. And if he jumps, you got to knock him down quick. And Vandermark didn't do that, right? He's got to make sure there's no air between him and the defensive end, and he's got to make sure that if he jumps, he gets knocked down. And he didn't execute. And I mean, you'd love for Josh to get the ball a little higher, but it's never one thing in football, right? I hope everyone's learned that by now in their life. It's never one thing, but there's compounding layers there. But that's multiple things there on a high leverage moment, right?
Yep.
For as bad as that game went for the Bills, they had tons of great opportunities there at the end to win it, and they couldn't pull it off.
It is amazing they had. I mean, Davis a foot lands in bounds, and they have first and goal, and it's amazing that they would have even had that chance. How the game was going, or how it felt that it was going at the very least. So the team now signs Brandin Cooks, Joe. We'll get to the Steeler game for a moment, but do you see anything in Cooks that makes you hopeful that he could give them, I don't know, something down the field? I think is really what you'd be thinking about, because when he was at his best, he definitely was a speed threat down the field.
Boy, what an addition Brandin Cooks would be if this were 2020.
Yeah, right.
Let's be honest about it. He's 32. He's averaging 19 yards per game this year. He's had under 700 yards each of the last 4 seasons. I mean, this is late-stage Brandin Cooks, who's been bouncing around multiple years. Like, we got to get our expectations in the right place. I agree with you. You'd love for him to be able to stretch the field. That'd be awesome. That would be phenomenal, right? I don't think he's quite the 4.33 he ran back in 2014, but I'm sure he's got some juice to him. But ultimately, for as attractive as that is, like, just the fact that he's a professional receiver, I don't know, it can't hurt, right? I mean,
right.
So what do the Bills have? Keon Coleman, who's benched for disciplinary reasons, hasn't performed well on the field. Elijah Moore can't become a meaningful part of this offense. Curtis Samuel, same thing. I like Josh Palmer, but he has been injured and not been able to really carve out a major role on this offense. Khalil Shakir is kind of a role-specific player in the slot. I mean, it can't hurt, but it's also, I think we got to get our expectations in the right place. This isn't the guy he was. That's, look, he's had a great career. He's closing in on 10,000 yards for his career. But, to think that this guy in week 13, that's never taken a rep in this offense, that's never caught a pass from Josh Allen, is going to come in here and suddenly make an inconsistent passing offense consistent. I think that's a big ask.
Yeah. The most interesting thing might honestly just end up being, how does the roster shake out? Like, the numbers at the position. Because if Davis is going to be on the active roster eventually, then we're talking about a lot of receivers on the active roster. So that might be where we're headed.
Yeah, no doubt. I think you have some pathways here. I mean, you look at Curtis Samuel, that's always an IR candidate.
Yep.
I think they like the all-around game of Shavers and what he brings, but, I think you could probably get him back in the practice squad if you're really nervous about it. Elijah Moore, can you just release him?
Right.
Is he now completely redundant as a non-special teams depth receiver that can't really get on the field? So I think they have some pathways here, and I do believe that they'll use their final elevation on Gabe Davis and then put him on the 53-man roster. I think it makes sense to not do it yet. You might as well maintain that flexibility while you have the elevation. There's no reason to clear a roster spot for Gabe Davis at this point. So I think that'll happen after this game, and he has his third elevation. But I think they have some options there.
Finally, Joe, Bills and Steelers on Sunday. What if it's 6-5 Pittsburgh? I mean, this is just kind of what they are, right? Like, they might limp their way to 8-9 wins, see if Tomlin keeps that winning record. In terms of the matchup, Rodgers may be playing through an injury. The defense looks like a couple of nice pass rushers. Jalen Ramsey's now playing safety. What would be the biggest challenge you see on the whole Pittsburgh side of things?
Well, they've just been their defense has been really inconsistent, just like the Bills' offense, where you watch it and sometimes it looks like it's going to be shut down. Sometimes it looks like there's yards for anyone to get. So what Bills' offense shows up and what Steelers' defense shows up, I think, is going to be the ultimate question here. But, can the Bills handle their dudes on the D-line, Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, Nick Herbig, Keanu Benton? We'll see if Alex Highsmith can go. But they got a lot of problems with their pass rush. I know that metrically it's not been very good, but they're very, very capable. And, the Bills and kind of their third down, the protection, blitz, it's not been very good. And the Steelers can kind of stress that. So I'm not expecting Spencer Brown to be able to go this week. So with a backup right tackle, and how do you get your protection right to give your passing game a chance to function? And then, I think they're pretty average at defending the run. The Bills are very good at running the football. I think this is a let James Cook game.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills, thejoemarino.com. Check out all he's doing. Happy Thanksgiving, Joe. Thanks for coming on, and enjoy the stuffed artichokes.
Thanks, Joe. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Joe Marino on the Wester Hotline. And again, check out all his stuff. All good throughout the entire week as we look back on that Houston game, look ahead to Pittsburgh. Thanksgiving football tomorrow. Stuffed artichokes. All right.
That sounded
good. Didn't it sound like something you would like dip in some sauce though?
It kind of like how stuffed banana peppers have a little bit of tomato sauce on them. Like that's how I'm thinking about it.
That's maybe what I'm doing. I'm thinking of stuffed banana peppers.
Still good either way though. I feel like an artichoke with tomato sauce that's stuffed is good.
That seems like a pretty solid move.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
Thanksgiving tomorrow. Maybe I'll get my pumpkin pie take out a little bit later on. I'm not. It's funny. I love Thanksgiving, but you're gonna get mad at me because the two things that are most like known for Thanksgiving, turkey and pumpkin pie, are the two things I could probably honestly do without.
What if I told you I'm with you on that?
Oh, man. You guys just want me to come punch you in the face.
No, I can't. I'm not even going to look at them.
Good Lord.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I would prefer apple.
Yes. A warm apple pie.
Apple pie, scoop of vanilla ice cream.
I'm not going to argue with you that apple pie is not better than pumpkin pie. That is true.
Yes.
There's no...
It's better.
It's just, that's the reality. Apple crumble or apple just standard?
Ooh,
I'm a crumble guy.
I'll go standard, but right. If there's an apple crisp or an apple crumble, that's my number. Yeah, I'm going for that. Straight for that.
But pumpkin pie also is awesome, and it happens once a year. So
it's fine.
You guys got to pump the brakes a little bit.
It's fine. It needs Cool Whip or whipped cream to be good.
I would.
We don't have time for this. We gotta take a break. We're late. Owen's going to come in the break and just pull the shirts over our heads and just rain uppercuts.
I'm going to call Rob Ray and tell him to come in here.
Can you rain uppercuts? You can't. Rain comes from above. Uppercuts would be something different.
Like hammer uppercuts,
there you go. 803-0550 is the phone number. Sal coming up at 8. We'll ask him about the numbers at receiver. I feel like someone's got to go. Elijah Moore, Samuel, and what he thinks about the Cook signing. That's ahead here on WGR. I would say the best case scenario, like what I would sign up for right now is give me what Amari Cooper gave me last year. Can Cooks do that? In 8 games, that was 297 yards for Amari Cooper with the Bills. That was 37 yards a game. And it wasn't consistent. It was a couple of big games. He had a big game in his first game against Tennessee, where he had 66 yards and a touchdown. He had a big game against the Rams, where he had 95 yards. And then he had 56 and a touchdown against the Jets. But you've got disappearing X. You got 1 catch for 3 yards against Seattle, 3 catches for 12 yards against San Francisco. He had no targets. How about that? Amari Cooper, he was on the field. He played half the snaps. The Bills scored 48 points against Detroit, and Allen never threw it to Amari Cooper. Not once. The playoffs, there wasn't much. Like, he did not make a consistent impact. But what I got was a couple of big plays every other game, and a lot of them were down the field. The big touchdown he had against the Jets was down the field, right? The Rams plays were often down the field. I get some big plays, and I get a couple of games where he makes a real impact. I think when you look at the AFC right now, the team that obviously nobody is going to want to see come playoff time, nobody's going to want to get in, are the Chiefs. And I think there is an attitude right now, at least after beating the Colts. I think if they had lost to the Colts and they were down, then I think you were probably headed towards, they're going to miss. Their odds would have been really low. Schedule isn't super easy. But they win that game. They come back. They win in overtime. And now it's, okay, here they go. Now they're going to start rattling off wins. They're going to make it. And that's probably more likely to happen than not, that they will find a way to get in. But they have no tiebreakers over anybody. Like, they really do not have much margin for error. So I think it's very likely they get in as well. But for them to have a great chance of getting in, they've got 6 games left. Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. You can put it in ink. They will beat the Titans. They will beat the Raiders. If that game matters at the end. I'd imagine it will. So they will win 2 games at least. That gets them to 8. You got to find, honestly, it's possible 3 more wins. Because, again, no tiebreakers at the moment. And the reason they have no tiebreakers, they lost to the Jaguars head-to-head. They lost to the Chargers head-to-head. They can make up for that and get to a tie there. They lost to the Bills head-to-head. So the 3 teams in wild card spots right now, the Chiefs have all lost to head-to-head. Then we'll see Houston. Big game. That is Sunday Night Football next week. And the Chiefs will really need that one, not just because they need to find some wins here, but because if Houston gets a tiebreaker over them, that's another problem. Pittsburgh is currently over Kansas City because they have a better conference record. And that is another problem for Kansas City. Sabres in action tonight against Pittsburgh. Gotta win some road games. Pittsburgh is having a better year than I think most would have anticipated. They have been on the decline for a while. They have only won 3 of their last 10, though. So while they started well, maybe they're coming back down to where we thought they would be, as it's basically just Crosby and the ancient remains of whatever was left around him. Although, don't they have a goalie this year? Who's the goalie that's been playing well?
Shelovs is playing really well for them, and Tristan Jarry's kind of back on track, even though I think that's... Jarry, I think, just plays a style where he'll get hot, and it is not sustainable. I think Shelovs can actually play, though. And they're actually really deep in the crease. They've got some young guys, I think Murashov.
Yep.
And they've got a Blomqvist, something like that. They've got like 4 or 5 guys that could be playing in the league.
Malkin actually leads the team in points. 24 points in 21 games. Like a 90-point pace for Evgeny Malkin.
Returned to prime Gino. It's really quite something to watch.
He has had more than, 50 points last year, 67 the year before. So it looked like it was headed downhill, and then this year he's gone back up. So one last ride with Malkin and Crosby, maybe. Yeah. That is, at least is keeping at bay all the Crosby trade rumors.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to trade him to Colorado or Montreal all the time. I get it. People don't want to see him rotting away on a bad team for the end of his career when he's still really good.
Right, but they're not bad right now.
That's what I mean. Like, if they were worse, you would get that, and given that they're basically, they're 1 point out of a playoff spot, you're not seeing it as much. Big game tonight. All these games that you play against the East are big. While everyone is compact, when it starts to spread out a little bit more and you're in it and you go and you play a Columbus and they're out of it, then it's not as big. But right now, Pittsburgh is 3 points ahead of Buffalo with 1 fewer game played. So you Got to start banking these points and stopping the other team from getting points. 803-0550 is the phone number. Sal, when we come back on Brandin Cooks, and we'll start to set up the week for Pittsburgh when we come back here on WGR. I think when you look at the AFC right now, the team that obviously nobody is going to want to see come playoff time, nobody's going to want to get in, are the Chiefs. And I think there is an attitude right now, at least after beating the Colts. I think if they had lost to the Colts and they were down, then I think you were probably headed towards, oh, they're going to miss. Their odds would have been really low. Schedule isn't super easy. But they win that game. They come back. They win in overtime. And now it's, okay, here they go. Now they're going to start rattling off wins. They're going to make it. And that's probably more likely to happen than not, that they will find a way to get in. But they have no tiebreakers over anybody. Like, they really do not have much margin for error. So I think it's very likely they get in as well. But for them to have a great chance of getting in, they've got 6 games left. Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. You can put it in ink. They will beat the Titans. They will beat the Raiders. If that game matters at the end. I'd imagine it will. So they will win 2 games at least. That gets them to 8. You got to find, honestly, it's possible 3 more wins. Because again, no tiebreakers at the moment. And the reason they have no tiebreakers, they lost to the Jaguars head-to-head. They lost to the Chargers head-to-head. They can make up for that and get to a tie there. They lost to the Bills head-to-head. So the 3 teams in wild card spots right now, the Chiefs have all lost to head-to-head. Then we'll see Houston. Big game. That is Sunday Night Football next week. And the Chiefs will really need that one, not just because they need to find some wins here, but because if Houston gets a tiebreaker over them, that's another problem. Pittsburgh is currently over Kansas City because they have a better conference record. And that is another problem for Kansas City. The Bills signed Brandin Cooks to the 53-man roster.
Tailgate Trivia is back,
he was
presented by
released
Total
by
Sports
the
Enterprises
Saints. There was
Buffalo.
a whole
Listen
weird
during every
story
Bills game for your
about
chance to call in, answer the trivia question, and win autographed Bills merch.
New Orleans was
courtesy
willing to
of
grant
TSC
it, but
Buffalo.
they were trying to move money in ways that would make him less appealing on waivers so that he could get to a contender, and that became a whole controversy because there was collusion talks. And I guess none of that ended up coming to fruition, the collusion stuff, and teams exploring that. So he got available, and he signed with the Bills. 803-0550 is the phone number. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. If you got a thought on Cooks, give it our way. I'll give you mine. It's that he is, I think all the jokes being made about the Bills receiver room and Brandon Beane and, still searching at this stage in the season for somebody that could actually help you, especially down the field, which, hey, that's what Cooks did for the majority of his career. That was his thing. He was a downfield vertical threat, really fast. He came into the league with a 4.33 40 time. He's always been a good player. I don't know that he still is that. And at 32 years old, there's a lot of mileage on the tires for him. And he's last in the NFL this year in yards per route run. He's run a lot of routes this year for the Saints and hasn't gotten the ball a lot. So I think there is ample reason to make fun of them for this if you want, if that's your prerogative and you want to do that. For me, it's what the hell, give it a shot. I don't see the downside of it, I guess, is why. So again, if it's worth mocking because this is the state of the receiver room, that's different to me than should they have done this. Yeah, you should have. No money down the line, total free agent rental, no commitment. If he doesn't give you anything, you could just bench him or cut him. So there's really no downside. And the upside, I guess, would be he's got anything left in the tank. And he's got anything left in the tank doing the things that made him such a great player.
The Bills gearing up for the Steelers coming up this Sunday with kickoff set for 4:25. We'll get an updated injury report at some point as practice continues this week. Bills did make a move at wide receiver, signing Brandin Cooks to the active roster, who was released from the Saints last week. And also, in case you missed it, the Bills signed defensive end Shaq Lawson back as well. The Sabres back in action tonight in Pittsburgh against the Penguins with face-off set for 7 o'clock. You'll be able to catch all of the game action right here on WGR Sports Radio 550. Around the NFL, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin says he has, quote, great optimism that Aaron Rodgers with a wrist injury will play against the Bills. Eagles running back Saquon Barkley with a groin injury was limited in Tuesday's walkthrough, along with Devontae Smith with a shoulder and chest injury who did not participate. Packers running back Josh Jacobs with a knee injury was limited in Tuesday's practice. And Falcons coach Raheem Morris said that Michael Penix with his knee injury could force the team to, quote, make some different plans this offseason. Joe Burrow will make his return this week against Baltimore, and NFL insider Jacina Anderson reports that up to 3 NFL teams are interested in pursuing North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick this offseason. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Joe Cali for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Sal Capaccio joins the show now on the Wester Hotline. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy is off today. Happy Thanksgiving. A lot of good football games tomorrow. Sal, I don't know if you've looked at the schedule in the last little bit here, but tomorrow, I mean, maybe we say this every year since the Lions got good, but tomorrow feels like as good a Thanksgiving slate as we've ever seen.
I like it. I agree with you. It seems like it's definitely better than what we've been used to.
Yeah.
The Bills have played in each of the windows, right, over the last few years when it comes to Thanksgiving. They played in the 1 o'clock window in Detroit a few years ago, 4 o'clock window in Dallas in 2019, and a couple years later in New Orleans in the night game. So, yeah, I agree with that. I did look at the same thing the other day and go, you know what? There's some actual good games that, even though what I like, Joe, here's what I like, though.
Yeah.
The early game, it's a good game, but it's not one you have to be completely dialed in on. The later game, because it's Kansas City, you will be, and even the later game from that, even more so, kind of ramps up from a Bills perspective.
Yeah,
kind of ramps up as the day goes on.
Right. The first one, if you're just a football fan, will be tough to not be dialed in on because that's a big game for both teams. Like they are, Detroit's not in a playoff spot right now. Green Bay is got a couple losses. They could even be out of a playoff spot if they lose. But you're right. For the Bills, I mean, everyone's going to want the Chiefs to stay out, right? And so that's an easy one for Dallas. And then I guess Baltimore, Cincy, the best case scenario would be Cincy, right? Because you're going to want Baltimore to lose the division to Pittsburgh, but also you don't want Pittsburgh to win this week. So
no, right. I think so. Yeah, let's take a look at it. So
because no one's worried about Cincy getting back in. I don't think they have.
Yeah, you want Cincy. I think you want Cincy. I think the only argument against Cincy would be, do you think, and I don't think we are there, though. I think this would not be true, but it could be, I guess, that if the Bengals lose, would they still continue to put Burrow out there?
I think if they were to continue to lose games, they probably. Well, I don't know. Like,
I guess what I'm saying is, though, but would they play Burrow against the Bills next week if they lose tomorrow night? They still would play him, right?
I think they would still play him. Isn't that probably up to the player?
I guess so. Yeah, probably right.
Because if I were
right. So no matter what, he's going to play against the Bills, and he has 10 days to get ready. Yeah. So you might as well hope that they win and knock the Ravens down a little bit. But again, the weirdest thing here is, I think everybody would say you don't want the Ravens 4 and the Bills 5, right? I mean, that's like a bad scenario.
That is correct.
Okay, so
we got into that a little earlier in the week, Sal. Like, that's where I've been. Are you one to think that the way the Ravens have won 5 in a row or 4 in a row, whatever it is, but they've not really looked impressive? Like, Lamar doesn't look healthy. Do you still feel like it is a big difference between I got to go on the road to Baltimore in the first round versus if the Bills would have to go to Indy, Denver, or New England?
Kind of do, only because I still think about the matchup, right? But you're right. I've been there, Joe. I've been thinking about the same way, which is the Ravens aren't the same team. They have been running the ball. Derrick Henry hasn't been running it as effectively, but it's still, the difference to me is the Bills are still not built to play that kind of football. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's why I say, to me, it's still a tough matchup and a tougher matchup, but it's not as daunting as you might have thought maybe a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And even though they are getting healthy. Anyway, the point I'm bringing up here is, if you do subscribe to the theory that Ravens 4, Bills 5 is not great, then the Bills actually are hurting themselves by beating the Steelers and having the Ravens win. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I get it, but that's right. But that's exactly what you want. Now, I would also say this. If the Ravens win, mm-hmm. and the Colts lose this week mm-hmm. to the Texans, which is possible, the Ravens have a very legitimate shot at getting to the 3 seed before all this is over.
They could. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely in the window. They're 2 games back right now. But the way their schedule sets up, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's a little easier. I think they could probably get there. They win 2 games against Pittsburgh down the stretch here. That'll help too. There's still a lot to be figured out. Before we get to the Bills, the Chiefs, mm-hmm. and like tomorrow's big for them, but Sal, like I was looking at them earlier, they don't have tiebreakers over anybody. Like they've lost head-to-head to the Bills, Jaguars, and Chargers. And I think really the biggest reason they have no tiebreakers.
Only the Colts, but I don't know if that would matter.
Right. They have a 3-4 conference record, which I think is probably going to hurt them down the stretch here.
Yeah, I agree. If you take a look at the standings, the thing that's hurting the Bills is also hurting the Chiefs, and that's conference record, because the Bills right now are actually in a 3-way tie, as you know, with the Chargers, the Jags, and themselves, the Bills. And the Bills have a 4-3 conference record. Jacksonville's 4-2, one less game. The Chargers are 6-2 in the conference. They're in the driver's seat when it comes to any of this.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about teams you did not play head-to-head, like the Chargers or Jags for the Bills, it comes down to conference record. The other thing that happens is if you wind up like in a 3-way tie, even with a team you played, it could come down to conference record depending on if the other teams played each other.
Yeah.
Then that matters. And the Bills are not in a great spot there. They're 4-3, but neither is Kansas City, as you said. They're 3-4. What hurts the Bills here is if the Bills and Chiefs wind up tied, the Bills have the head-to-head. But, Joe, if it becomes a more than 2-way tie, then you go to more to conference record. Now, that would help the Bills with the Chiefs, but not with another team. So even though you have it on the Chiefs, you might not have it on the other team you're with. And that's why this game, to circle it back, this game is massive for both these teams. If the Steelers beat the Bills, they pass them in the standings. And if the Texans beat the Colts, the Bills are suddenly in the 9 spot in the AFC. If the Bills beat the Steelers, they put separation between themselves and a team that's chasing them, and they have the head-to-head. So, yeah, this is a massive game this week for both teams.
Yeah, and at the moment, I don't think there are a lot of fans that are super worried about the Bills missing the playoffs. There might be a few.
Right.
But I think this game, especially for Pittsburgh, Sal, like the Bills, I don't think they can. The winning division is such a tough play at this point, and I don't know about them missing the playoffs. While Pittsburgh, I mean, they are mixing in losses here every other week, and they just continue to live this same life. Are they 6-5 every single year? Like this is a team where their fans are getting sick of it. Where it's like, okay, even if we get in, what are we going to do? And I'm not sure Aaron Rodgers has done enough this year to make them think that it's all that different than the life they've been living.
No, that's right. We just had, by the way, little plug here. Matt Bove and I just recorded It's Always Game Day in Buffalo last night, and we had Andrew Filipponi on with us.
Yep.
Really great conversation about the Steelers. And you know the way Andrew is a lot of times, and he's not a Mike Tomlin fan, right? And you know he said he'll give him credit for something, and I said, well, that's kind of odd for you. I laughed. He said, well, he said, you're right. He said, I'm not big on Tomlin because exactly what you said, Joe. Like, they live the same existence every year, right? And they win enough games to get in the playoffs. They have this 500 record, but they never have a better team than that. He basically, believes too that, Aaron Rodgers has been okay, but he's been a different player for some reason since like the first month of the year. He was on fire. Something happened. Something's going on. I don't know, injury, whatever, whatever mental state of how he's feeling about something or other has really made them go kind of, what is happening? What's going on here? And I'm looking at the numbers for Aaron Rodgers, and it's wild because, Joe, he has the lowest average depth of target in the league. Like, everything they do is really short. Like, they don't throw the ball downfield at all. We talk about the Bills not throwing the ball downfield. Like, the numbers say the Bills actually do it once in a while more than most teams, or at least on average, like some of their throws. Not great. And that's a big part of the issue with them right now, and like their offense where they are. They get Rodgers, and you're like, oh, okay, he looks really good, but like, you're not even using him necessarily.
What's crazy about that is it feels like the arm strength is still there. He had a Hail Mary a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
It was the longest throw in the league.
Pony said the same thing. He's like, he's still got great arm strength too.
Right. And he has DK Metcalf. So, like, maybe that's it. But you have one guy that is amazing down the field. Yeah, you're right. That is very strange. That is Arthur Smith maybe could be a big reason for that. That's how he's run offenses. So, yeah, that's very strange.
Well, here's his theory.
Okay.
That basically Mike Tomlin, and he made a parallel to Sean McDermott here. And while I do think that there are some similarities here, I wouldn't go as far as Andrew went by saying this, but I'll just give you what he said. And again, please go listen to the podcast. It's great. Andrew was really good on this. We also talked about how his nipples are doing, by the way. Just want everybody to know.
because
he did make a bet. He did make a bet early in the year that he said if the Steelers didn't beat the Bengals on Thursday Night Football, he'd have his nipples pierced without numbing agent. And he actually had to do that, and he went viral. And they raised money for breast cancer, but we had a conversation about it. Anyway, so that said, his theory is Tomlin just wants to play such risk-averse football and win by playing defense and not turning the ball over. That's why they do that.
Man, I mean, I think I would be pulling my hair out if I were there right now, especially because you have the Super Bowl, but it was so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And like that type of thinking has just been there for years, and it's so long since they won a playoff game. I would be losing my mind. My favorite way to put into perspective how long it's been, Sal, is that there are 3 former Bills coaches that have won playoff games more recently than Tomlin has, which is unbelievable. And if you're wondering who those 3 are.
Wow.
Do you know who they are off the top of your head?
Well, Rex got to the AFC Championship game in 11. So hold on, in 10 or 11.
Right.
Tomlin had to win. Well, I guess I'd have to.
I'll give you
Doug Marrone.
Doug Marrone. Tomlin's last playoff win was in 2016, by the way. So Doug Marrone is correct. In fact, Doug Marrone beat Tomlin in a playoff game.
And then Chan? No, not Chan.
Nope, not Chan.
Not Greg Williams.
No, you're getting warmer.
Who am I missing here? Mike Mularkey?
Mike Mularkey with the Titans.
That's amazing. That's
Mike
right.
Mularkey. And
That is amazing.
And I'll give you the other one because it's kind of cheating because he was only one game, but Anthony Lynn is the other one.
Okay. Well, that counts, right? I mean, it's kind of funny.
Brutal. Pittsburgh. We'll have more time to get to them later in the week, although tomorrow, obviously, we're off for Thanksgiving. Let's get to the Bills, Sal. The practice schedule this week, they are, like, there was no injury report yesterday. Are they practicing tomorrow on Thanksgiving? They would be, right?
Yeah, they're practicing today, actually. Yeah.
And today.
So today's a normal Wednesday, so we'll go down there. Sean McDermott will actually give us an injury update before practice, a little before noon today. They'll be on the practice field. I'll be down there 12:30 p.m. So we'll get an update on injuries. I think the ones that we're watching here are Spencer Brown, who it appeared as though he, what McDermott said last Friday, probably not trending to play this week, but we'll see. Same thing with Terrell Bernard. I would at least be encouraged he called Bernard week to week and not like long term because it looked really bad, but who knows? You don't know how long he's going to be out. That looked pretty bad what happened. But Bernard and Brown, now that's why you probably, the Bills made a few moves this week, as you know, and we've been talking about, we can talk more about it, but Tylan Grable was one of them too. Tylan Grable had his 21-day window opened to practice, which I find interesting, Joe, because they did put Brandin Cooks immediately on the roster, they now have 53 guys on their roster.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to have 48 active on game day, you must have 8 offensive linemen. Well, if Spencer Brown's not playing, then you're either having Tylon Grable or which they don't do, right? So if Tylon Grable gets activated by Saturday,
Why don't we bring Sal down for a moment? We were losing connection there, and I don't even think we heard who he was saying they could make active. He was starting into a little bit there, though. Tylon Grable, Bills' 6th-round pick from last year, who has been on IR, had his practice window opened, and if Spencer Brown is out, then that'll bring up some questions about the offensive line. By the way, and maybe he was about to get to this, you're allowed 8 IR to return designations during the year, and Grable will be the 4th. Hairston, Gabe Davis, and TJ Sanders would be the other couple. So we'll see what that happens at offensive line, especially going into this game without Spencer Brown. And Spencer Brown is a big loss. I mean, he has been, I don't know how long he'll be out, or even if he is out, but he has really developed into a very, very good right tackle. A great one even. And at the contract he's at, you'll see some of these guys that are studying the line. He's a top 5 guy in the league. So anyways, we got Sal back. So Sal, you were just starting to get into what the game day roster might look like and how Grable kind of folds into this.
Yeah. So if you want 48 active on game day, Joe, you have to have 8 offensive linemen active. The Bills never have Chase Lunt active. So if Spencer Brown's out, you either have to have Lunt active to make the 8, or you got to activate Tylon Grable. And if you activate Tylon Grable, who's off the roster? Because now you have 7 wide receivers. Is someone gone? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how this works, but the point I'm making is just that they have some roster decisions to make if you're going to have Tylon Grable active. And if Tylon Grable is active, is he playing instead of Ryan Vandermark? Is he actually your starting tackle? I mean, I don't know. They're going to have to make some decisions here. The other ones we're watching, by the way, real quick, Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, maybe he's the guy. Could be, maybe he's a guy that's not, he goes on IR or something. Fedarian Mathis, and then Max Harrison is in concussion protocol, or at least was, when we heard from McDermott on Friday.
So we'll find out about him today. Very quick follow-up on Grable. Do you remember, where were we at the end of training camp? Was Grable not maybe beating out Vandermark as that swing tackle guy? Or was it close?
He was last year. He beat him out last year. He was the guy. And then he had the concussion pretty early in camp, or at least midway through, and he never practiced again. So we don't know. Like, Vandermark was pretty much the guy for most of camp this year because Grable was out. But last year, Grable was the swing tackle and not Vandermark.
Okay. The other injury, I wonder, Sal, if this will become a story at all. You've seen a lot of that Joey Bosa is just not the same player out there right now with the wrist injury. And I don't know, have the Bills even been asked or talked about this at all? Any consideration to having him maybe sit out a little bit to try to get that healthy, or are they just at a point at defensive end where they can't even afford it because there's nobody available?
I mean, no, nobody's really asked because he's playing. He's playing a healthy amount of snaps, right? But right. Yes, it's been talked about his load management or how much he's playing. I remember early in the year that Bobby Babich said, it was a little bit more than they wanted when he was on the field for 80% of a game or whatever it was, 70-something%. So, but I think Joe right now he's playing, and when the stuff started percolating about Shaq this week, lots of people were speculating, oh my God, is Joey Bosa okay? He's been dealing with the wrist. And I went back and watched. He played the last snaps in the Houston game. He rushed the passer. I mean, unless something happened between now and then, I don't see there's anything there, but who knows? You never know what's going on there. But no, I don't know. I mean, he's obviously maybe 10 days, resting that wrist will help him, obviously.
So burying the lead, Sal Capaccio with us. Yeah. Brandin Cooks signed to the 53-man roster yesterday. He's been a very good player for a very long time, Sal, but he is definitely nearing the end of his career. So, one, what do you see his role being? He's on the active roster. This is not practice squad.
Right.
I don't know. How high should we set expectation for him, even playing, let alone making an impact on the offense?
I don't think you can have super high expectations. I mean, if it hits, if he can be useful, great, and maybe it gets better as the season goes on. I think that's where I would look. right away on Sunday. I mean, could he be active on Sunday? I guess he's on the roster. That could happen. It might be a little too much to ask to have him come in. Now, I will say, though, he's played in a lot of systems. He's been around the league a while. When you have a veteran like that, you can bring him in. He can probably fit in and know exactly what to do in certain situations, and just kind of talk through it with the quarterback or the offensive coordinator or whatever. I did find one tie-in with the Bills coach. Ronald Curry was on staff in New Orleans with him 1 year, Bills quarterback's coach. So there might be some intel there, and they can kind of have some communication about all that. Now, how much of an impact he could make or what he could do, what his role would be. Well, I do think obviously the speed is still there, but it's not quite probably what it was when he was younger. He's 32 years old now. But he's a good route runner, and he can run slants, and he can run, in-breaking routes and things that can kind of get the Bills a little bit more in position of what they want to do sometimes that I think they're missing right now. I know everybody's enamored with just get a guy on the field that can stretch the field, and that's fine. But what they really need is people who can kind of separate within the first 15 yards as well and be available to Josh Allen a little bit earlier in the down. And I think that's where you're going to look to him, because that was the issue in Houston. They just didn't have guys available early enough in the down.
Yeah, when he was at his best, and again, his best came on 4 different teams. It was New Orleans, there was the year in New England, Rams, Texans. But when he was at his best, he was not a one-trick pony. He definitely could win down the field, but he was like a route runner, separator, kind of do it all. The only thing he really couldn't do was, jump balls, just because the size was always an issue.
Right.
But at this point, is he maybe what they hoped Elijah Moore would give them a little bit? I guess whose spot would he take both on the game day roster and maybe even eventually just on if somebody gets shaken loose here?
Joe, your guess is as good as mine at this point, because again, let's go back to they have 7 wide receivers, and that is not including Gabe Davis.
Right.
I mean, if you elevate Gabe, which has 1 more elevation left, that's 8 wide receivers. As they said in The Sopranos once, somebody's got to go. I mean, I don't know who that is, right? I mean, is that Curtis Samuel in IR? I mean, is that Elijah Moore not being active because of what you just said? I was doing the Bills Kickoff Live with Josh and Thad and the gang and Matt Marino and those guys on Sunday last week, and Carl Jones. And Thad said something. He said when you go back and watch the film, he said Elijah Moore is actually getting open more so than people realize. And I know he's a guy, maybe he can kind of, if you can use that a little bit, be more useful with it, but it is a guy that's getting open a little bit more. Now, I don't know if, the Bills plan on doing that. I'm just saying that it feels like, that's a guy that you could use in that same role, but then what does Brandin Cooks offer you when he comes in? So I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I really don't know how they want to shake this out. And Joe, I mean, the big lingering question here, too, that we haven't even touched on is what happens with Keon Coleman going forward with all this?
That's
the
thing.
We still don't know, what his status is for Sunday.
I was going to ask you, I don't even know if I was going to, would you be stunned if it was him that got shaken loose at this point, which feels drastic. But at the same time, Sal,
yes, I would.
If they don't plan on him playing going forward, then what is he doing? He's just sitting on the active roster, not ever getting a uniform?
Yes. Yes, you cannot, Joe, you cannot release, if that's what you're getting at, there's no way. You can't do that. He has to have some sort of value in the offseason, right? So yes, you would just let him sit on the active roster. You'd have to. That's what you have to do. What's the alternative? You release him, a second-year player who was a second-round pick for you, who is maybe still has some talent you can use, but what I mean? I just could not see that happening. And if that happened, oh my God, do you think people are mad at Brandon Beane right now? I mean, that would be. Yeah. I could never. I don't think there's a precedent for that.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is how much value do you see him having in the offseason anyway? What am I really passing on? A 6th-round pick for him, or do we think it's more than that? Because if it is,
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can get more than that, but he might have more value to you than another team, though, in the offseason as well, by the way. Right? I mean, you could get to the offseason, and I guess you don't have to write his career right now, even if that is the case. Right? And I know it's not going well. I understand that. He is young. You get to the offseason, maybe there's some sort of change. Maybe there's a lot of things that can happen. I don't think you have to rush to just get him off my team right now when you still have this young player with 2 years left in his rookie deal.
Very quickly, by the way, we didn't get to it, but Shaq Lawson back, and they just need bodies that are playable, right, Sal, at that point?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me, let's go back to when people said, oh, this could be about Joey Bosa. I don't think so. I think it's about TJ Sanders. TJ Sanders playing out of position. Right? I mean, like McDermott told us on Friday they want to get him back inside. Well, a way to do that is to, bring in a defensive end. But what I find interesting is you had a defensive end on your roster that you let go, Andre Jones Jr., who had been practicing with you all season. So if you want a guy who knows the system, he should know the system. There must be something different between the two. Maybe Andre Jones Jr. is more of a pass rusher, where, Shaq Lawson is more of a guy you want, against the run. I mean, all those things can matter. Morgan Fox, by the way, we haven't talked about him, is still on the practice squad. He's a defensive end. He's also a off-ball linebacker if you want to use him that way. A lot of different ways. I said I would do this on X. I'm going to give a shout-out to a tweeter named George because he actually – there was something going on about how the Bills only sign guys who – have been with the organization, and that's all they ever do. And I say this a lot, but he actually put numbers to it. And George wrote, and I said, I'm going to use this on the air, and I'll give George credit. He said, well, I get the frustration with the season. I'm there too. We live in a Bills bubble. In the last 5 seasons, he wrote, and I'm going to trust his numbers on this, okay, Joe? But okay. I mean, I haven't researched it myself, but I said, this is interesting. In the last 5 seasons, he said the Chiefs have re-signed 10 players who they either cut, traded, or left in free agency. The Rams have done it 13 different times.
And what did he have for the Bills doing it?
Well, I don't know. Whatever it is. I mean, the point is, like, you know what I mean? Like, when people say, oh, my God, they only sign guys who are with their team.
Yeah.
Whatever that number is, it's probably the same as those 2 teams, right? For example. And those are 2 teams that are held in high regard.
Yeah. The Chiefs are the team I brought up the other day, too. I didn't know that it was 10, but they have guys. I mean, right now, Kareem Hunt is their starting running back, and he's this. They brought back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Juju has come back and forth a couple of times, so that's right. Like, there are other teams that definitely do it. I would be interested to see how many times the Bills have done it, but I would guess they're probably around the same. We'll see. Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Thank you, Sal. Happy Thanksgiving. Do you have a star side dish you're excited for tomorrow?
I'm a big stuffing guy. I love stuffing. I'm a turkey and stuffing guy.
Stovetop or homemade?
Meat and potatoes. Kind of doesn't matter. I always say this to people who, when I go to somewhere to eat or someone cooks or whatever, I say, I don't want to be picky because you're cooking it and that's great. So whatever you make, I'll eat and that's great and I appreciate it. So I don't. Hey, you go. I'll clean it up. You know what I mean? I always tell my wife when we have people we're entertaining tomorrow. We're having my family over and her mom is flying up from Florida today, and I always say like, yeah, you know what? I'm not great at preparing it. I can't really help in that regard. So you guys do all that. I'll eat it and then I'll do whatever you want to clean everything up and you guys can relax.
I like it. Thank you, Sal. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, you too, buddy. Thanks.
There's a report from Diana Rossini, by the way, speaking of Thanksgiving football, that George Pickens has been limited by calf and knee injuries this week, but is likely to still play against the Chiefs tomorrow, but that's something to monitor, maybe, because he's been dominant so far this year. So hopefully he plays, because everyone has to be a Cowboys fan just for a couple of hours tomorrow when they play Kansas City. Last time I can't think of a Cowboys-Chiefs game. Not recently. I mean, I'm sure they've played, but I can't think of a game between those 2 teams since Mahomes has been the quarterback. 803-0550 is the phone number. You got a thought on Brandin Cooks, the roster shakeup, the way it's kind of evolving here down the stretch of the season? Or if you got a Thanksgiving hot take, that's also welcome. Here on Jeremy and Joe, this is WGR. Yeah, the roster. The roster around Allen is just not that great. And I think the excuse that is often used, or one thing that you hear a lot from Bean, is, well, look, it's tougher now because of Allen's giant contract. And he does have a giant contract, but Josh Allen ranks 10th amongst quarterbacks in cap hits for this year. Dallas, with Dak Prescott, $15 million more on their cap this year to have Dak than the Bills have to pay to have Josh Allen. And honestly, are their rosters that different? Are they? Like, what would Dallas be with Josh Allen? Maybe you'd say they'd be something similar. The Rams are really, I don't really need to make another example other than the Rams. Stafford is the second highest cap hit in the NFL this year. $47.4 million. Allen is at $36.3. How's their roster? Way better. Elite players everywhere around Matthew Stafford. Puka through the draft. Byron Young through the draft. Jared Verse through the draft. Devontae Adams through free agency. And many more. They've got great players everywhere. It is not as preventative as I think it is made out to be. There are a lot of teams that have the big money deal. The Lions, they're not in the playoff spot right now. It's not like they're not going through their own troubles. But they've got more elite players around Jared Goff than the Bills have around Josh Allen. And Jared Goff is costing the Lions $3.5 million less this year on their cap than Allen is. It's basically the same. I would say the best case scenario, like what I would sign up for right now is give me what Amari Cooper gave me last year. Can Cooks do that? In 8 games, that was 297 yards for Amari Cooper with the Bills. That was 37 yards a game. And it wasn't consistent. It was a couple of big games. He had a big game in his first game against Tennessee, where he had 66 yards and a touchdown. He had a big game against the Rams, where he had 95 yards. And then he had 56 and a touchdown against the Jets. But you've got disappearing X. You got 1 catch for 3 yards against Seattle. 3 catches for 12 yards against San Francisco. He had no targets. How about that? Amari Cooper, he was on the field. He played half the snaps. The Bills scored 48 points against Detroit, and Allen never threw it to Amari Cooper. Not once. The playoffs, there wasn't much. He did not make a consistent impact. But what I got was a couple of big plays every other game, and a lot of them were down the field. The big touchdown he had against the Jets was down the field, right? The Rams plays were often down the field. I get some big plays, and I get a couple of games where he makes a real impact.
I'm a football player, and if I get hurt, I'm going to go through the rehab process, and then I'm going to let everybody know when I feel like I can go out there and play. I don't really know what else to say about that. I'm not going to ever go to somebody and say, yeah, I'm healthy, but I don't think I should go out there and play. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm not going to live my life and play this game scared of something happening. Yeah, something's going to happen. It's football. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to get concussions. You're going to break bones, tear ligaments. It's a physical, intense game. That's part of this. Yeah, I've had injuries. There's not a lot I can do about that. I work really hard to have that not happen, but what I can do is when it does happen, I can control how I'm attacking my rehab and attacking practice and doing everything in my power to get back as quickly as possible.
That is Joe Burrow. He's coming back, even though they're 3-8, and they have a 1% chance by ESPN Analytics to make the postseason. By the way, Sneaky Joe DiBiase, good morning. Jeremy's off this morning. Happy Thanksgiving. It's Jeremy and Joe. We got Marcus Mosher coming up at 9. We'll watch every snap. Brandin Cooks played in Dallas the last 2 years, so we'll get a scoop on what the Bills are getting in Cooks from him. Burrow there, and by the way, we'll also take your phone calls. 803-0550 is the phone number. Burrow, everything he said there, completely understandable, completely acceptable. He's a player. He's a competitive quarterback, winner. He's going to want to play. That is when it is time for a strong organization to step in and say, and basically protect him from himself. You need that because it is pointless to have him come back and play, especially with someone that's had as many injuries as he has had. To risk another one makes no sense at all. But the Bengals are not a strong organization. So, are they supposed to do it? They also might feel like, even if it's the right thing to do, that they wouldn't do it. Because if you're Cincinnati, you're always tiptoeing around Burrow and Chase and Higgins to make sure that they're not ready to depart. And that's their own doing. It's because they don't spend money and they're not committed to winning like other franchises are. And you almost have to kind of shield your star players from that truth. And if it becomes a little bit too obvious that that is your motivation, then, you kind of have to let the guy do what he wants. But I think if you were a Kansas City, a Buffalo, a Baltimore, and you were in the position that Cincinnati is in, you're 3-8, and your injury-prone quarterback is trying to come back to play meaningless football games at the end, he's going to want to. He's a guy. Allen would want to. Mahomes would want to. Lamar would want to. You got to protect your guy from that when your season is at this stage. If you had 5 wins, you're 5-6, and you had a 15% chance of making it still, go ahead. Give it a shot. But if they won out, they still probably wouldn't get in. So I just don't get it. Well, I guess I do get it. It's the Bengals. It's the Bengals. They're a team and an organization where I just wouldn't expect them to do the right thing. Jay in Hamilton is next. What's up, Jay?
Hey, Joe. So we talked a little bit earlier this morning about, who makes a decision to play, right? So, Joe has to tell the coach, yeah, I'm ready to go. So that's his decision. The coach, though, makes a decision, do I want to play you? And at the end of the day of all this, and I've really fallen on this sort of sword now, and I've debated this with even Buffalo with the way I feel this season is going and where I think it ultimately will end up. The Bengals should not be playing Burrow. They should just let the season, unfold as it does. Mm-hmm. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Tank that season. Go get your revolutionary top 10 defensive player because their offense is set. And now you've got Joe Burrow as your quarterback. Get back on the horse next year, and you're back in this game. What they're doing is just stalling an incredible offense, which we wish we had in Buffalo. And I feel that same way with the Bills. I'm not talking about tanking for the Bills, but I said to myself on the weekend, if the Chiefs lost that game on the weekend and they ended up, say, losing out, and they get a top 10 pick, a revolutionary pick on whatever side of the ball they choose, with Mahomes as quarterback, they're back in the game next year, top 3 team no matter what. And I was kind of thinking the same thing for Buffalo, where at the end of the day, and I'll end here, you've got to make sure that you're not putting your team in a position where they're spinning their bloody wheels and not capitalizing on the incredible talent you have at quarterback. And that's what the Bengals are doing. Like you said, not shocking, but they're missing a real opportunity. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. And also, if you're thinking, well, that's why you don't go all in on offense, is because look what's happening to the Bengals. That's not what's happening to the Bengals. The Bengals, here, they went all in on offense, but they could also invest in the defense, and they're choosing not to because they're cheap. You look at next season and beyond. Right now, like, compare the Bills to the Bengals, for instance. And the Bills aren't even number one. Like, money that's already spent for next season, there are, 3, 6, 7 teams that already have more money committed than the Bills. The Bills have committed $301 million to next year right now. And they can make room if they need to, but so can every team. Cincinnati's at $237 million. It's like $70 million less. The next year, they have $104 million fewer committed than the Bills do. The following year after that, I mean, you see the trend here. They don't like to push their money out. So you might look up and see, like, oh, they have $11 million in cap space. They're spending money. Like, no, look out in the future. The Eagles do this more than anybody, but the Bills do it too. The Chiefs do it. You know, you're investing in your current team by committing money down the road. And Cincinnati doesn't do that. And that's why their defense stinks. Among some other reasons. I mean, I don't think they've drafted very well either. The Bengals. All right. I guess I would much rather be the Bills, clearly. Of the teams with the superstar quarterbacks, you know, you might think the Bills are failing Josh Allen. There's a lot of that out there right now that they're wasting his prime, and there are some good reasons. There are some truthful reasons to back that up. And, you know, Baltimore might be saying the same thing about Lamar, but there's no doubt Cincinnati's doing it worse than any of these teams. Jared in Cheektowaga is next. What's up, Jared?
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
How's it going? Happy Thanksgiving.
Good. I would happy Thanksgiving. I'd like to two things. I listen pretty consistently. I don't really think I've ever heard this, but it may have came up. If Keon is so bad and on the outside, and I understand we have Kincaid and Shakir in the slot, how come we don't ever just try it? Try him on the inside, try something different, move Shakir on the outside once. So we'll try something else just to find out if it can work out, you know, in a different way. And that's number one. And then number two, and you can kind of see this kind of the same thing with, you know, to mix in the Buffalo Sabres here. You know, we have the same guys that we draft, the same types of guys all the time. So what is it about the Bills or our organizations that we don't ever try outside the box draft picks? And lastly, Thanksgiving hot take is wild rice. That's by far my favorite.
Wild rice
dish. Wild rice.
Wild rice. What is that? Rice and what? You mean like?
Yeah.
Is there something special versus like what I would buy in the store?
Yeah, you got wild rice. There's like 3 or 4 different kinds of grains of rice.
Yep.
And you got cranberries and walnuts mixed in there with some spices.
All right. Thanks, Jared, for the call. How does it sound, guys? Wild rice with cranberries.
It's not the worst thing, right?
Owen,
I feel like if there was like ground turkey in there, you could really just say that's Thanksgiving in a bowl.
I'm not denying it's good, but if I saw that on the table, I'm not sure I would be like, ooh,
yeah,
what's that?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That'd be lucky to be a second plate pass.
Yeah, that's a I got to be deep in my bag to get to the wild rice, I think. Personally.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of sides lined up before the wild rice for me.
On Coleman, I think the only thing left to do with him is play him in the slot. I don't know that they'll do it. I don't know that he'll see the field for the Bills again. I think it's possible right now he never does. But if he does, out wide, it's over. He can't do it. He's bad at it. I don't care about the disciplinary stuff for this. He's not good at it. And it was predictable. Everyone said he probably wouldn't be, and he wasn't. So this year I've got 375 snaps out wide and 47 in the slot. That should be flipped. Play him in the slot. If you even care. If you care to think there's anything left there, then that's where it happens. But maybe it doesn't. Again, Cooks is now in the picture. Gabe is probably going to make it to the active roster, and him and Shavers, I think at this point, are going to be playing the position that Coleman was occupying before. So, I don't know. Like, I don't think there is anything left to do with him other than that.
The crazy thing is they drafted him to not be redundant and draft the same kind of a player that they already had on the roster, but in doing so, they did that and forced the player to go to the outside.
100%. 100%. Totally redundant. The thing he was best at last year, in fact, he was arguably best in the league. I think it was yards after catch over expectation, where he was number one. He was amazing at creating yards after the catch last year. What do you already have 1,000 of? Yards after catch. You didn't need that. And I don't think it was as big of a surprise as they might think it is. As a contested catch receiver in college, he ranked very low. He was not even efficient at it at Florida State. He was a punt returner at Florida State. Some of his biggest plays were created with yards after catch at Florida State. I think the Bills tried to make him something that he never was, and I don't think you should be surprised by that he can't do it. So I'm good. I'm good being done with him, but if they want to play him, I wouldn't be opposed to finding out what he looks like playing in a different role. 803-0550 is the phone number here on WGR. Welcome back. It's Jeremy and Joe here on WGR. We're getting some Thanksgiving food takes. Jay Harris just tweeted us or texted us. Thanksgiving food stinks. Inmates on death row get their final meal. No one has ever asked for a Thanksgiving meal. He might be right. I've never heard of such a thing.
How is this how we're judging whether the food is any good? What are we doing here?
I like the side dishes, all of them, and I get a good. I did just have a turkey last week, a smoked turkey that was great. But would it be my last meal? No. Absolutely not.
Yeah, sure, but
I found a breakdown in liver ranks above turkey for last meal percentage.
Liver. Now I wouldn't go that far. Although I've never had liver. So
I've tried it once.
You tried it?
Yes. It was I want to say it was like the gel, not the jelly, but like it was some thing you spread on toast liver-wise.
Why are we...
It wasn't the best.
Why are we putting stock into death row inmates' takes on food as our takes on food here? What are we doing?
It's a strong counter.
I mean, these people are on death row.
Right.
Why are we trusting them to tell us what food is good or not?
Are we still doing liver? We're still eating liver? That feels like something.
Have we ever been doing liver?
No. Yes. I think liver and onions there was probably a very popular era for liver and onions.
I think we lost liver and onions when it became a jelly bean.
I didn't know that it became a jelly bean. So
the Bean Boozled game.
Bean Boozled.
Yeah.
Okay.
That being on the bad side of that game, I think ruined it for a lot of, that could have been it.
I don't know.
The nail in the coffin for liver and onions.
I think it's a bad PR job. We can't be calling it liver. It's got to be called something else if you want people to take a stab at. I mean, I would never try it. Can't say that. I would never try it.
It's like having snails be called escargot.
I love escargot.
Escargot is good, and
I
also
eat escargot
that's
over
okay.
turkey any day.
I agree. I'm purely talking about the naming it something different than what it, is.
You want to call liver by the French name? Foy. You want to call it foy and onions?
Foy
and onions sounds pretty good.
Sounds better.
Sounds appetizing.
That sounds great. But then you look at it.
Liver pate. That's what I had.
All right.
Liver pate.
Well, there should be no liver on display at any Thanksgiving table tomorrow.
No, that'd be a problem.
I hope.
Would be.
You can't really deviate from turkey. It's even though we're making our claims here that maybe turkey's not as good as Owen is saying. It has to be the center of the table. You can't be subbing it out for a pizza.
No, you can't be. You cannot be. Can't be subbing it out for pizza.
I've been to Friendsgivings where it's been thrown to the wayside, and I have been livid about it.
Thrown to the wayside? Like it's just not there?
It's just not.
It's not available?
I went to
You want a whole turkey at Friendsgiving?
Yes.
I want.
Yeah? Well, it depends how many you have, but yes.
Yeah?
I mean, I went to a Friendsgiving last year. I almost feel bad even telling this story, but I walked into this Friendsgiving, and I was looking around like, what's the situation here? And then I got put to work rolling out pie doughs.
Oh, no.
And then it was revealed that we were not having turkey for Friendsgiving dinner. We're having chicken pot pie.
Oh.
What?
That did not get started being made until after I had arrived. I don't know if you guys know how long it takes to thicken up a chicken pot pie filling.
Quite a while.
I left that party and the chicken pot pie the dough hadn't even been touched yet. Just make a turkey.
Just make a turkey.
Goodness.
803-0550 is the phone number. Happy Thanksgiving. We got Marcus Mosher coming up next. He covers the league, but the Cowboys too, and he would have watched every snap Brandin Cooks played over the last couple of years. So more on Cooks from Marcus when we return here on WGR. Hey, it's Sneaky Joe DiBiase here. It's holiday season. Yeah, the roster. The roster around Allen is just not that great. And I think the excuse that is often used, or one thing that you hear a lot from Bean, is, well, look, it's tougher now because of Allen's giant contract. And he does have a giant contract, but Josh Allen ranks 10th amongst quarterbacks in cap hits for this year. Dallas, with Dak Prescott, $15 million more on their cap this year to have Dak than the Bills have to pay to have Josh Allen. And honestly, are their rosters that different? Are they? Like, what would Dallas be with Josh Allen? Maybe you'd say they'd be something similar. The Rams are really, I don't really need to make another example other than the Rams. Stafford is the second highest cap hit in the NFL this year. $47.4 million. Allen is at $36.3. How's their roster? Way better. Elite players everywhere around Matthew Stafford. Puka through the draft. Byron Young through the draft. Jared Verse through the draft. Devontae Adams through free agency. And many more. They've got great players everywhere. It is not as preventative as I think it is made out to be. There are a lot of teams that have the big money deal. The Lions, they're not in the playoff spot right now. It's not like they're not going through their own troubles. But they've got more elite players around Jared Goff than the Bills have around Josh Allen. And Jared Goff is costing the Lions $3.5 million less this year on their cap than Allen is. It's basically the same.
The Bills gearing up for the Steelers coming up this Sunday with kickoff set for 4:25. We'll get an updated injury report later today with practice continuing this week. The Bills did make a move at wide receiver, signing Brandin Cooks to the active roster, who was released from the Saints last week. And also, in case you missed it, the Bills signed defensive end Shaq Lawson back as well. Sabres back in action tonight in Pittsburgh against the Penguins with face-off set for 7 o'clock. You'll be able to catch all of the action right here on WGR Sports Radio 550. Around the NFL, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin says he has great optimism that Aaron Rodgers, with his wrist injury, will play against the Bills. You can't count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+. Watch your local NFL game all season long, kicking off with the juicy Week 13 matchup between the Buffalo Bills and Pittsburgh Steelers. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. I'm Joe Cali for WGR Sports Radio 550.
The more that you force this defense to really communicate and pass things off in concept, you can rip them. Three-level concepts can rip them. And so it's a secondary that just has not played at a high level. I would tell you, as a run defense, has not played at a high level. I think the more you motion and run the football at the same time, you can rip off runs against this defense. So there's a lot schematically you can take advantage of.
Dan Orlovsky on the Bills. Bills and Steelers on Sunday. And off a loss to Will Anderson, a Daniil Hunter wrecking the Bills line, and Josh Allen. Now you get a couple of other good pass rushers, although TJ Watt is not the same player that he was a couple of years ago. Still pretty good, but we'll see what we get. We'll preview that game, plenty more as the week progresses. We're obviously off tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving. And we'll get to your phone calls a little bit later on. Want to get a scoop on Brandin Cooks here from Marcus Mosher. He joins us now on the Westher Hotline. Locked On Cowboys. Covers the league overall as well. Marcus, Joe, thanks for hanging out, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys. I'm excited to talk with you guys. My Bills fans are very, very down on this team right now, so at least we have something to maybe get them excited going into Week 13.
Yeah, 7-4, but it just doesn't ever. It doesn't feel right. It looked good against Tampa, but otherwise, yeah, it hasn't looked good. I think we are constantly fighting about what is the best, surrounding or life for Josh Allen to live. You're still adjusting, even though we're a few years into this, of having an elite quarterback.
Yeah, and it's, these are the ebbs and flows that you have when you go through, having a guy like this. And ultimately, you're just hoping that you can surround him with the right talent. And obviously, Buffalo and Brandon Beane, they're hoping that someone like Brandin Cooks can help take them to the next level.
Yeah, so the reason I got you on to talk about Cooks, to try to figure out what's left in the tank. He was a very good player for a very long time. And I don't know, this year in New Orleans, Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, I just don't know how much. And also, the ball just goes right to Chris Olave every play. So I don't know how much you could really get from New Orleans. Dallas, meanwhile, great quarterback, good offense over the last couple of years. So from your vantage point, last 2 seasons, how much does Cooks and how much did Cooks have left in the tank when he was in Dallas?
And we should mention during the 2024 season, a lot of that year was with Cooper Rush because Dak Prescott injured his hamstring middle part of the season, did not return. So he has not played with great quarterbacks over the last 2 years. And I'll start with the positives here. I mean, he is one of the best professionals that you could have at that position. He taught CeeDee Lamb so much about like diet and how to sleep and how to travel and how to get your body ready. So having a player like that in the locker room with this pretty young wide receiver core, I do think that's going to help a lot. There's just something about him that that people love, right? And he is one of the best practice players you'll ever see. I think the issue with him now is he just isn't as quick as he was back when he was with the Saints or with the Patriots. He's definitely slowing down, and he's not somebody that you want trying to make plays down the field because he's maybe 5'9", 180 pounds. So his best part of his game is the short to intermediate stuff. And this is my only issue is that I think a lot of the ways that he wins are in similar ways that like Khalil Shakir wins. It feels pretty redundant, and that's my concern here with Cooks joining the Bills.
That's different than, for you, what he would have been at his best. Because when he was flying around for the Rams and the Saints he was everywhere, right? It was a lot of, it was route running, short intermediate, but there were big plays down the field too.
Yeah, and you saw that the last couple of years in Dallas. Like on the outside, he just couldn't separate from these cornerbacks. So the way that the Cowboys tried to use him was, use him on these comeback routes and on quick slants and stuff where he can use his quickness to create quick separation. He's never been a big guy at making plays after the catch, and that's really kind of evaporated over the last couple of years. But again, he still knows where he's supposed to be. He can run routes as good as anybody else in the NFL. It's just that you're not going to be creating these big plays like you saw back in 2014, 2015.
Marcus Mosher with us on the Wester Hotline. The last thing on Cooks, the thing you said about him being professional and, maybe like leadership type stuff, the current environment around Keon Coleman feels like with Gabe Davis back and now maybe Cooks, they're trying to help him out as much as possible. At least someone that could kind of show him like how you're supposed to do it in the league.
And honestly, I couldn't think of a better player in the league to do it than Brandin Cooks, who has played with how many different Hall of Fame quarterbacks? I mean, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. He played with Dak Prescott for a while. I mean, he's just got a really good track record, of being in winning organizations. And again, I can't stress enough how big of an influence he was on CeeDee Lamb. You're hoping that some of that rubs off on Keon Coleman. I don't know how much you can do, when you're already 3/4 of the way through the season, but I don't think it's going to hurt.
Yeah. Do you have an opinion on the Bills' receiving room as a whole now and how it shapes up? Because if Coleman was having trouble getting a jersey before they signed Cooks and Davis is going to come back to the roster at some point, I don't know. Is that a fatal flaw of the Bills for you when it comes to whether they can win or not in the playoffs?
Well, the answer to your first question, it's bad. I mean, it's really, really bad. You watch these games on Sunday, and it's shocking how bad their wide receiver core is compared to the rest of the NFL. But when you have a superstar quarterback like Josh Allen, you can mitigate some of that. But when Dalton Kincaid's out of the lineup, you really see just how weak this room is and how little they add value to the offense. There's just nobody on this team outside of Shakir, and he's pretty clearly not 100%. That makes plays after the catch. There's nobody that you trust to get open in one-on-one situations. I think you could be looking at this, team in 2026, and the only wide receiver who's back is Khalil Shakir, because I think this room needs an entire, complete makeover.
Yeah. Marcus Mosher with us. Very quickly on tomorrow's game in Dallas right now, Bills fans will be rooting for the Cowboys. I mean, the whole AFC would love to see the Chiefs somehow find a way to miss the playoffs. Tomorrow in Dallas, Mahomes has never played there, right? The Cowboys beating the Eagles, I don't know, how open should we be to Dallas pulling off an upset? Not that they're a huge underdog, but what do you think their chances are tomorrow?
First off, I'm sorry, Buffalo fans, that you have to root for this Cowboys team. It's not fun.
Yep.
As somebody who does it week in and week out, it's not that enjoyable. However, Cowboys played pretty good against Philadelphia. They allowed 107 yards in the last 8 possessions. They never let Philly cross their 40-yard line. They were pretty dominant on defense in that outing. This Chiefs team is pretty old. They had 90 plays on offense 4 days ago. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys keep this game pretty interesting going into the fourth quarter. And if you're a Bills fan, that's all you could ask for.
Yeah. It's funny you said, not as enjoyable for Cowboy fans, because I'm enjoying watching them all year because every game feels like it's just to the wall, tons of points, no defense, although maybe their defense is starting to improve a little bit.
Well, it's the same as me, a Cowboys fan who roots for Buffalo every single week. I'm not quite as emotionally invested in it as everybody else is, but it's fun watching Josh Allen. I think for Cowboys fans, there's just such inconsistency with this team, which is not that dissimilar from Buffalo, where some weeks the defense looks really good, some weeks the offense looks really good. They just haven't been able to put it together outside of a second half against Philadelphia. They're pretty clearly hoping that things change, over the next 6 games. Not super optimistic that happens, but we'll see.
Last thing, will they keep Pickens, or what happens with Pickens? I guess do they pay him franchise tag?
The plan is to keep him long term. Now, long term for them is maybe a 3-year deal. I think they want to date George Pickens rather than marry him, and maybe that's where we get a couple franchise tags, but this is clearly somebody they want to keep for the next couple of years. They have this window that they're looking at, 2026, 2027, and he's going to be a part of it.
Marcus Mosher with us. Thank you, Marcus. Enjoy the game tomorrow, and we'll talk soon.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Check out Locked On Cowboys. You want more on Dallas? He's also a good follow just for all around the league stuff. Marcus Mosher, at Marcus_Mosher. Brandin Cooks, don't love what I heard there. These more redundancy. Dallas, over the last 2 years, not using him as much as the perimeter downfield weapon. That's kind of what the Bills need. I guess really what I'm just, and this just goes back to just draft one, right? What I'm itching for from the Bills is be the team that just has some out of nowhere young receiver with speed that just shows up and gives you something. And they've had that happen before. Robert Foster did that for a year. Gabe Davis, as a 4th-round pick, did that. And their roster right now is just made up of all guys that you're pretty sure you've already seen the best of. And even Shavers, you might think Shavers is like the answer to, well, he's kind of that. He's the same age as Gabe Davis. He's been around a long time. But he is kind of that. But Brandin Cooks, you know you've already seen his best. Curtis Samuel, you know you've already seen his best. Elijah Moore, you're pretty sure you've seen his best. Palmer, maybe you've seen his best. Where's the Jalen Naylor on this team? I don't even need a star. Where is the Adonai Mitchell starting to do it for the Jets now. Where is the Torrey Horton? Tampa has one of these guys every week. Tez Johnson. Where's that guy? It's tough to have that guy when your entire depth chart is guys that are on their 2nd or 3rd team and are 26, 27, 28, 29 years old. They just don't have the 22, 23-year-old that I don't want to look up a guy's 40 time and wonder how close he still is to that. I want to look up a guy's 40 time and know, like, that's about what it is. Brandin Cooks 4.33. I'm sure it's nowhere near that right now. He ran that like in 1985, basically. But not even on the practice squad, right? Steven Gosnell would be the answer to that question. But I don't know. Marcus said they need an overhaul. What do we think about that point, that question? How many different receivers next year? Like, how many guys right now are we saying, yeah, this is it for them? They are not a part of this team going forward. That they'll ride out this year, get the most they can, and then that's it. It's definitely Cooks. It's definitely Curtis Samuel. It's definitely Elijah Moore.
Keon?
It's probably Keon. I don't think Keon's on this team next year. And Palmer is probably back. So Palmer and Shakir are probably back. So do I have 5 new wide receivers on the active roster next year? Probably 4.
Would Shavers stick around?
4. Shavers would be back. 4 new ones? Or are they going to bring Gabe Davis back again? He is only 26.
I mean, maybe you do. Might be a reliable target on the outside kind of a thing.
3 or 4. All right, I worked my way to 3 or 4. I'm going to say 4. 4 new receivers on this team next year. Have 3 of them be under the age of 25. Please. Some youth somewhere. 803-0550 is the phone number. We had some Brandin Cooks talk today, some Thanksgiving food talk. We began the show talking about Kansas City and how they are still in tough after beating the Colts. They have, most places you look, they'll have like a 55, 56% chance of making the postseason. But at 6-5, they are behind Pittsburgh and Houston, who are not even in playoff spots. And then Bills, Jaguars, Chargers. So they're a game back of all those teams. They have no tiebreakers. None. Head-to-head, they've lost to the Chargers, they've lost to the Jaguars, they've lost to the Bills, and their conference record being 3-4 makes it so that if any 3-way tie comes around, that you're going to see them lose out on that. And I don't they're one game back of the Bills for that, and everybody else, they're too far away. And I guess, whose spot are they going to take? Right now, of the 7, I think Jacksonville seems to be this team. Everyone thinks the Jags will fall out. They're 7-4. They're just not really great at anything, Jacksonville. It would be very odd if the Jags made it and the Chiefs didn't. Or even the Texans didn't. Because while Houston stinks on offense, we all just saw it firsthand. We know they are elite at something. Defense, overall, and especially rushing the passer. Jacksonville, just like, I don't know. And then the Chargers are maybe not too far away from that. These two teams, they're perennially just the same. It's, well, they might make it. They might not. They should be better than they are. Their quarterbacks are super talented. Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. And yet, nobody takes them seriously. And probably never will. Could you imagine ever taking the Chargers or the Jaguars seriously? Like right now, if I made a bet for the remainder of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert's career, between the two, 0 Super Bowl appearances, how would that feel as a bet? Likely to hit? Or would you take the other side? Would you bet right now, I give you both of them, all they got to do is make it one time? Would you take that bet?
I think Herbert might pop one appearance at least.
Herbert?
I think Herbert would be the one, not
on the Chargers.
Oh, now that's the question.
You need him to do his Jack Eichel impression and get somewhere else? Listen, if he got to Minnesota somehow, he'd make it next year.
Oh, 100%.
I need to see the Vikings get a good quarterback. That is a great team that is being ruined by the worst quarterback we've seen in 25 years other than Jamarcus Russell. Ruined. If they had anybody. The coach is great. The receivers are great. The defense is great. Worst quarterback in the league. All meaningless.
Kevin O'Connell's got to be the most tired man on the planet.
Can you imagine moving on from Sam Darnold, dooming your franchise pretty much?
Right.
Like, I would not have had that on my bingo card.
No.
They should do the thing. They should be the most aggressive team in the world this summer. Like, Go get Dak. They might say no. Go offer the Chargers 3 first-round picks for Justin Herbert. Just see what they say.
Try and get George Pickens, too.
Maybe Harbaugh thinks he can fix his college guy, McCarthy. He can have him for free. Go offer... Who else could be poached? That's the thing. If you're Minnesota, they're the most interesting team in the league for me between now and next season. Like, for the offseason more so. But it's because they have a team that can win a Super Bowl right now, but they need the quarterback. And they're going to be pretty limited to get one. Rodgers wanted to go there this year, and they said no.
Yeah, he could complete the Brett Favre. He can end in Minnesota.
That would be better. That'd be a lot better. Might be the best they could hope to get. Who else could they get their hit? Mac Jones is the name I always come back to, but I'm thinking even above that. Who's poachable?
Kyler Murray's going to get out of Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
But that might be a disaster.
Woof.
But
it's better.
It's right. It's better than McCarthy is.
It's definitely better.
Could O'Connell extract whatever is left of that Murray magic?
What did Daniel Jones sign with the Colts? Although him in Minnesota, Minnesota wanted him to be the backup.
Right.
He did only sign a 1-year deal. Colts will franchise tag him.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, is he poachable?
It depends what the new coach thinks of him.
Yeah.
I don't know what Liam Cohen and Gladstone, the GM, I don't know what they think of him. But it's possible they could think we could do better than this.
There have been moments this year where Cohen has been clearly frustrated by Lawrence.
And Lawrence is waving him off.
Yeah.
All that.
There's been some tension there for sure. But not that there's not, Josh Allen just yelled, "What are we doing?" on the Bills sidelines.
Call the Bengals. See if Burrow's upset. See if Burrow's mad at them because they stink all the time and they don't spend money. See if you can entice. I would tamper. I would do risk punishment. I would do it all. Break the rules. Get to Burrow and convince him you need to ask for a trade. You're going to come here, and we're going to win the Super Bowl next season.
Yeah, if O'Connell got his hands on Burrow,
there you go.
Roster, that's
what I would do.
Over.
I'd be willing to get. If I were the GM, I would be willing to get banned from the league.
Yeah,
go all out, all the spy equipment I need. Just go get to Burrow and convince him you need to be a Viking next year.
You just can't trust that front office, though, to do anything to help that team. That's where we're at.
No. Cincy?
Yeah, Cincinnati. The Hendrickson debacle.
I'll offer him
signing Jamar Chase.
3 firsts, 3 seconds. Let's go win the Super Bowl. Burrow. That's where this is where I would be if I was Minnesota. I said earlier I'd be losing my mind if I was in Pittsburgh because Tomlin is just the worst.
Do they squeeze
in Minnesota?
Flacco?
I'd be losing my mind for a different reason. It's because I would think I could win it. I just don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, you don't have the missing piece
at all, and I probably am going to have a really tough time getting one.
Do they try and get Flacco and squeeze the last little bit out of him they can?
See, these are the ideas that would make me want to fight people.
Yeah,
I'm desperate for Flacco. When we come back, we will be off tomorrow, and there's football, which I believe means we should throw together a Thursday 3-leg parlay.
Oh, yeah.
The risk of that is if we win it without Jeremy, it's not a good look for him. It suddenly becomes an addition by subtraction conversation. We'll get to our parlay when we come back. Yeah, the roster. The roster around Allen is just not that great. And I think the excuse that is often used, or one thing that you hear a lot from Bean, is, well, look, it's tougher now because of Allen's giant contract. And he does have a giant contract, but Josh Allen ranks 10th amongst quarterbacks in cap hits for this year. Dallas, with Dak Prescott, $15 million more on their cap this year to have Dak than the Bills have to pay to have Josh Allen. And honestly, are their rosters that different? Are they? Like, what would Dallas be with Josh Allen? Maybe you'd say they'd be something similar. The Rams are really, I don't really need to make another example other than the Rams. Stafford is the second highest cap hit in the NFL this year. $47.4 million. Allen is at $36.3. How's their roster? Way better. Elite players everywhere around Matthew Stafford. Puka through the draft. Byron Young through the draft. Jared Verse through the draft. Devontae Adams through free agency. And many more. They've got great players everywhere. It is not as preventative as I think it is made out to be. There are a lot of teams that have the big money deal. The Lions, they're not in the playoff spot right now. It's not like they're not going through their own troubles. But they've got more elite players around Jared Goff than the Bills have around Josh Allen. And Jared Goff is costing the Lions $3.5 million less this year on their cap than Allen is. It's basically the same. The Bills signed Brandin Cooks to the 53-man roster. He was released by the Saints. There was a whole weird story about how he was trying to get his release, and New Orleans was willing to grant it, but they were trying to move money in ways that would make him less appealing on waivers so that he could get to a contender, and that became a whole controversy because there was collusion talks. And I guess none of that ended up coming to fruition, the collusion stuff, and teams exploring that. So he got available, and he signed with the Bills. 803-0550 is the phone number. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. If you got a thought on Cooks, give it our way. I'll give you mine. It's that he is, I think all the jokes being made about the Bills receiver room and Brandon Beane and, still searching at this stage in the season for somebody that could actually help you, especially down the field, which, hey, that's what Cooks did for the majority of his career. That was his thing. He was a downfield vertical threat, really fast. He came into the league with a 4.33 40 time. He's always been a good player. I don't know that he still is that. And at 32 years old, there's a lot of mileage on the tires for him. And he's last in the NFL this year in yards per route run. He's run a lot of routes this year for the Saints and hasn't gotten the ball a lot. So I think there is ample reason to make fun of them for this if you want, if that's your prerogative and you want to do that. For me, it's what the hell, give it a shot. I don't see the downside of it, I guess, is why. So again, like, if it's worth mocking because this is the state of the receiver room, that's different to me than should they have done this. Yeah, you should have. No money down the line, total free agent rental, no commitment. If he doesn't give you anything, you could just bench him or cut him. So there's really no downside. And the upside, I guess, would be he's got anything left in the tank. And he's got anything left in the tank doing the things that made him such a great player. All right, well, the good news about our thrilling three-leg parlay is that tomorrow we have 3 games to pick from. And we only have 3 legs, so we are a little bit more likely to win it than if we had 4. All right, let's get a win on the board. What do we like for tomorrow? Anyone want to start us off?
I'm kind of split between 2 hairs here. If someone wants to jump in first, feel free. Owen, what are you thinking over there? You got anything cooking yet?
I was thinking just Mahomes is over on passing yards because that Dallas defense is a nightmare. And
267.5.
Well, it's kind of high.
It's bad defense.
What's his total rushing plus? Let's see if we can find that because I'd be curious because I think he's been running so much this year.
Let's see. Passing plus rushing 292.
I might get in on that. Let's do that because then he could go off for the 290 passing alone, or if he's a little sluggish through the air, he could get it on the ground. I'll take the over on Mahomes there.
292.
Right. I am looking at alt passing yards right now. Very well could be the over, but Joe Burrow, first game back, trending towards playing 275 plus passing yards out of the gate.
Ooh.
I think he has a game.
Okay.
Ooh. All right.
So I
over on Burrow passing. Jeremy
we
has
got
thrown his leg in
at the wire.
251 on Burrow, you said?
I had 275 plus.
You wanted alt?
Right, alt. Alt Joe. What am I doing over here? Of course. 275 for Burrow.
Got to maintain
Jeremy
face.
wants 40 plus yards for Mark Andrews.
Okay.
At exactly even money. Okay. He dropped a touchdown last week.
He did.
So it looked like a bad day for him, but it should have been a little better.
He could have a revenge game because of that. Not dropping touchdowns.
sometimes the line that looks the dumbest is the one that actually is the best.
Little rat line.
Nobody wants to be on Jameson Williams this week because he just had a 0, a goose egg.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been more involved since Dan Campbell, even with the 0. He's been more involved since Dan Campbell took over play calling. I'm going to go over Jameson Williams at 53.5.
Okay.
All right.
What's our ending odds combination looking like?
Plus 1432.
Oh.
Ooh.
All right. 10 to win 140, give or take. All right.
Can
tomorrow,
we finally hit?
Yeah, we should probably do that.
That would probably be good for us.
At some point. Just go against us. Your record would be just as good. Actually, maybe it wouldn't because I don't know if we've had a week where we've all got it wrong, but I'm not sure. Sometimes you can't go unders.
I don't think we've been clean sweeped by the board.
No.
I'd have to go back in my records and check, but I don't think. I think somebody's hit every week.
Yep.
I still can't believe the streak I was on to start the year.
You were on a streak. You earned your nickname.
It was really something.
By the way, it's not just Thanksgiving football this year. We have this is the third year in a row with the Black Friday game.
Yes.
We have a Black Friday game again. And it hasn't been a great match. Like there was a Jets-Dolphins matchup a couple years ago that was not a good game. Like Tim Boyle played for the Jets. This year, you got a good one. Bears at Eagles.
Ooh. That'll be a good one.
And the Bears are a team I still don't want to believe in. They have a negative point differential, despite being 8-3.
Is that all Williams for you?
Yes, more than it is Ben Johnson.
I think I like Johnson, and I'm still scared of Williams.
I'm there.
Yeah, he makes 2 or 3 plays a game where I think this guy's just reckless. There still is a bit too much of reckless in him. Although, to be fair, I don't think he's thrown a pick in a while, but he did have that horrific fumble in his own end zone. Again, like the Steelers almost won that game just because of that play.
Right.
Otherwise, the Bears were the better team all the way through. But you get that one play from Williams, just always thinks he can do a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Maybe like really early Allen. Like really, right. Like 2019 Allen.
Yeah, year 1 Allen.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely a better passer than Allen was that early. So I don't know. Like he's good. Don't get me wrong. He is good. But the overall of that team, that division is strong. I would expect they come back a little bit. But hey, if they can beat the Eagles on Friday, then that'll be their most impressive win of the year.
Yeah.
They beat Detroit too. But.
Is that their, first real test? Did they beat Detroit?
Or am I thinking of Minnesota?
I think maybe Minnesota because Detroit beat them 52-21 in early September.
Right.
Yeah.
Minnesota beat them 27-24.
No, you're right. The teams that Chicago... Listen to the team Chicago's beaten so far. They're 8-3. Their wins: Dallas at home, at the Raiders by 1. I should get a loss just for that.
Gross.
They beat the Commanders by 1, and that would have been... It was Jaden Daniels, to be fair. They beat the Saints. They lost to Tyler Huntley and the Ravens. They beat the Bengals with Joe Flacco, and they got a little lucky at the end, right?
Right.
They beat the Giants.
Who gave away games in the fourth quarter every week.
They beat the Vikings by 2 with J.J. McCarthy playing quarterback. And then they beat the Steelers by 3 with Mason Rudolph. That's the thing. I guess that's why I don't believe in them, even more than Williams. It's you played Mason Rudolph, you played Tyler Huntley, you played Geno Smith, and J.J. McCarthy. And in those 4 games, you won 3 of them, and you were outscored by 10.
Yeah, that's tough.
I don't know. They play the Eagles this week on the road, and then the Packers on the road. Listen to their schedule down the stretch. Philly, Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, San Francisco, Detroit. Ooh. I want to bet them right now to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a real test.
That's tough.
From here on out, you'll see if they're a real team or not.
If they do beat the Eagles, though, does Philadelphia burned down or what?
They're already talking about offensive coordinator changes, and they won the Super Bowl last year.
That is scary times in Philly if they lose that game to Chicago.
Yep.
Oh, my.
So that's Friday's game. We get our 3 games tomorrow and then a game on Friday and then Bills and Steelers on Sunday. We haven't talked much this week yet about Bills and Steelers. We'll do obviously a lot of that on Friday, on a Buffalo Bills Football Friday. Very quickly on the game, my biggest question would be, can Rodgers do everything? Because broken wrist, think of what Allen looked like last season after he broke his hand against Arizona. He couldn't even hand off the ball with one of his hands. And certainly he wasn't running as much. You wouldn't expect Rodgers to do that anyway. But to what extent is your wrist broken? What if you fall on it? What if Greg Rousseau is falling on top of you and you put your left arm down to catch yourself and your wrist is broken? It feels like an injury you can play through because you're a quarterback, and at the same time, I don't feel like you could play through it. If it's a real broken wrist, is he going to be able to hand off with just one hand? Can he play under center? I don't know what to expect from Rodgers. He's going to play, but it's not like he's been that great this year anyway. We talked a little bit earlier with Sal. Check out his podcast with Matt Beauvais. It's always game day in Buffalo. They had Andrew Filipponi on, and as he kind of laid it out, Rodgers has not been the same quarterback leading up to that wrist injury anyway. He started hot and was making some big plays down the field, and everything now is dink and dunk and game manager. He hasn't had more than 220 yards in a game since October 16th. So it's been more than a month. Big game against Cincinnati. That was the one they lost on prime time. So it's a Steelers team that always finds their way to be in a game. I mentioned Caleb Williams, right? That fumble in his own end zone. Steelers recover it. It's a one-score game, and they were in it all the way through. They get that one big play like that. It's not a team I'm really that afraid of. Joe Marino earlier, going through their pass rush. Like, the names look good. The metrics maybe don't match it. They're really inconsistent on defense. Tomlin is super conservative. He's playing offense that way. He obviously always makes fourth down decisions that way. So, not to say it's a game the Bills couldn't lose, but there's just no part of Pittsburgh I'm afraid of. Nothing. Maybe if it was a gross weather game. I can't say I've looked yet at what that would be. But if the Bills were to lose to the Steelers, I'm not in full-blown panic mode. I think they will make the playoffs. They will not win the division. They will go on the road, and they will be favored. And I think they could very likely beat the Colts in Indy or the Patriots in New England or Denver in Denver. But missing the playoffs is not really part of my thought process yet. If they were to lose to Pittsburgh, then it would be. It would squarely be my thought process. You would be 7-5, and we'll see what Jacksonville does. We'll see what the Chargers do, and we'll see what the Chiefs do. But I would start to get closer to panic mode if they somehow lost to that Steelers team. 803-0550, the phone number if you got a quick thought. Extendo Sports on the way back. We'll get you off to the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show. That's coming up here on WGR. I think when you look at the AFC right now, the team that obviously nobody is going to want to see come playoff time, nobody's going to want to get in, are the Chiefs. And I think there is an attitude right now, at least after beating the Colts. I think if they had lost to the Colts and they were down, then I think you were probably headed towards, they're going to miss. Their odds would have been really low. Schedule isn't super easy. But they win that game. They come back. They win in overtime. And now it's, okay, here they go. Now they're going to start rattling off wins. They're going to make it. And that's probably more likely to happen than not, that they will find a way to get in. But they have no tiebreakers over anybody. Like, they really do not have much margin for error. So I think it's very likely they get in as well. But for them to have a great chance of getting in, they've got 6 games left. Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. You can put it in ink. They will beat the Titans. They will beat the Raiders. If that game matters at the end. I'd imagine it will. So they will win 2 games at least. That gets them to 8. You got to find, honestly, it's possible 3 more wins. Because, again, no tiebreakers at the moment. And the reason they have no tiebreakers, they lost to the Jaguars head-to-head. They lost to the Chargers head-to-head. They can make up for that and get to a tie there. They lost to the Bills head-to-head. So the 3 teams in wild card spots right now, the Chiefs have all lost to head-to-head. Then we'll see Houston. Big game. That is Sunday Night Football next week. And the Chiefs will really need that one, not just because they need to find some wins here, but because if Houston gets a tiebreaker over them, that's another problem. Pittsburgh is currently over Kansas City because they have a better conference record. And that is another problem for Kansas City. I would say the best case scenario, like what I would sign up for right now is give me what Amari Cooper gave me last year. Can Cooks do that? In 8 games, that was 297 yards for Amari Cooper with the Bills. That was 37 yards a game. And it wasn't consistent. It was a couple of big games. He had a big game in his first game against Tennessee, where he had 66 yards and a touchdown. He had a big game against the Rams, where he had 95 yards. And then he had 56 and a touchdown against the Jets. But you've got disappearing X. You got 1 catch for 3 yards against Seattle. 3 catches for 12 yards against San Francisco. He had no targets. How about that? Amari Cooper, I mean, he was on the field. He played half the snaps. The Bills scored 48 points against Detroit, and Allen never threw it to Amari Cooper. Not once. The playoffs, there wasn't much. Like, he did not make a consistent impact. But what I got was a couple of big plays every other game, and a lot of them were down the field. The big touchdown he had against the Jets was down the field, right? The Rams plays were often down the field. I get some big plays, and I get a couple of games where he makes a real impact.
Ready to take your game day to the next level? Enter online now at WGR550.com for your chance to win a $300 tailgate tray certificate from Alibaba Kebab to feed 12 football fans. Each Friday, a winner will be announced during Football Friday with Shope and Bulldog. Fire up your taste buds at any of their 3 locations.
Extendo Sports, Sabres and Penguins tonight. Since we saw a game, the standings are a little different. Tampa continues to win, so 6 points back of first in the Atlantic. 4 points back of a playoff spot, Boston, who has played 2 more games than the Sabres, sit with 26. Buffalo at 22. But you have 6 teams in between. One of those teams is Pittsburgh. So keep rattling off wins. Climb over teams one by one. Climb over one team a week. There you go. Set that as a goal. You get over one team a week, and within a month and a half, you're in a playoff spot. There's your goal. No Josh Norris tonight, although he might play on the weekend. What else? Who will the Bills sign today? Who's our next former Bill?
Lorenzo Alexander. At this rate.
Hey, Quentin Jefferson got released by the Lions yesterday. He's on my squad.
Did he?
He did.
Oh, no.
Could cash in.
Now, to be fair, he was here last season.
Right.
So.
Not as big a score, but.
No, but pretty good if he comes back.
Right. We'll see.
I don't know how much room they have on the practice squad. Like, someone would get cut for that, but they would make room.
I mean, Gabe Davis is getting elevated, right?
Yeah.
At some point. He's going to get signed to 53. That'll open up a spot.
He's got like 2 more elevations, right? Not including this game.
One more.
One more.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It's this week, and then they have to make a call.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine he wouldn't be on the 50. I mean, Allen threw to him on one of the most important plays of the game, and it was almost completed.
Right.
He's on the team. There's no way he's not going to be on the team. Really, the best question about Coleman, as we figure out what is his role going to be, will he even appear for them again? The important question is, will he play in the playoffs? And I cannot imagine it. Also, so earlier we were talking to Marcus Mosher about Coleman and how Brandin Cooks was a huge help for CeeDee Lamb in how to grow as a professional, how to treat your diet, how to just be a guy in the league that is trustworthy. And when he was, was everybody not thinking about Coleman when he was going through that?
Yeah.
He's talking about Lamb there. Pro Football Reference has that CeeDee Lamb and Keon Coleman are cousins.
What?
What?
I'm trying to find that's definitely true.
What?
They discovered their family connection during the 2024 pre-draft process.
Whoa.
I thought I saw clips. They did. They worked out together in the offseason.
Yeah, both grew up in Louisiana.
So, again, maybe this is a stretch. We're so late in the year. And again, I don't know if it'll matter. Maybe Coleman doesn't see the field again. But, all right, so they're cousins. They worked out together in the offseason. I don't know how close they are, but it seems like they might be a little bit. That maybe Lamb would be telling Keon right now, you need to listen to every single thing that Brandin Cooks tells you.
Right.
You need to emulate him in every minute that you're together.
You would hope so, because he's got so much ground to make up off the field to get to a place with this organization where he's trusted.
He's got a marathon to run, in all seriousness. It's not good.
So, I'm connecting dots there that it doesn't need to be meaningful, but just a thought. All right. Happy Thanksgiving. Get on that corn pudding recipe. Enjoy your turkey. Hopefully it's good and cooked well. If it's not, dump as much gravy on it as possible. And
carb load.
Stay tuned. Extra Point Show is on the way next, and we will talk to you on Friday. Football Friday, we'll get you previewed, getting you ready for Bills and Steelers. Talk to you on Friday.